later on with agilities perhaps going over the Genji or something, but for now it's going to be the tank to defend as we go to our first map of this fixture between Immortals and CLG.
As expected, it's going to be CLG running that Pharah Mercy once again. Hydration high up in the skies with those damage boosted rockets. Good read by Immortals there to pull out Diva on height, just to counteract that to a certain degree, but they're going to be rotating and moving around. Nomi is getting very aggressive right into the face of CLG right now, seeing if he can work his magic, but those rockets are doing a number on the shield, contesting it fully. The leap in happens there. iShiny just trying to search for an opportunity. Biogrenade is going to get committed, doesn't actually quite find a kill, but Hyped is going to get de-mech'd out. They're playing back behind the point so far, but not actually finding the openings they really require here, Sideshow.
They're taking down the Tracer though, so that removes any possibility of a flank. They purely focus on the engagement forwards now, but they're finding it difficult to get anybody in a position where they can deal with hydration. Agilities though with a pick, and that takes down the Winston immediately. iShiny's been taken out, and Agilities with another right click. They're onto the hydration follows, and Agilities just clutched that one for his team. Very difficult actually to deal with all of these players. Agilities can do it if he just hits a really high individual level, and he certainly did there.
I actually rate Agility so much as a player. I think he's pretty good on most roles, Roadhog especially one of them. So as you saw there, popping off the daze, the right clicks in mid-air, brought down the Mercy, brought down the Pharah, didn't stand a chance. And now we're seeing, once again, the defense are just backing off onto the point so far. Immortals not really wanting to take too many opportunities, but CLG now going for the counter-attack. They move into the back. Pulse Bomb does connect from Waffle-tastic onto Verba. That's an opening for them. It's going to be no Lucio. That's no sound barrier either, but Grim Reality picking up so many kills. That's insane. The Helix Rocket onto hydration.
That was unbelievable from Grim Reality. He just sneaks around the back end there. Instant Helix Rocket follows it up with some crisp headshots and body shots. And they won that fight without having to use any of their ultimates apart from that nano boost. And with Verbo dying really early on there, I thought that would get a bit risky for them. But the ult didn't quite come up early enough, and V didn't have his Resurrect to be able to commit to the fight. But now they're going to have it. So a slightly different approach here from CLG.
Absolutely, they do have ultimates to use, and they could initiate in with the self-destruct, try and pick up a few players with the damage boosters rockets when they try and move their positioning out of the way, but for now, a lot of ultimates to use on the side of Immortals as well. They've got tons of stuff to try and take them down. I feel like CLG need to bring down Verbo almost immediately, otherwise they're going to be really struggling to break through the sound barrier that they can pop off. They're moving forward. The self-destruct is going to initiate here for CLG. Doesn't actually bring down a player. Finally, Verbo brings down huge Earth Shatter from the side of Nomi. Two players. The pin charge will find Waffle-tastic, but here comes the Resurrect. The reset of the fight now. CLG looking to take it even further, but is it going to be enough? Self-destruct once again comes out, but this time for the side of Immortals, and not in the picks, but CLG certainly are, as they are popping off left, right, center. Hyped on the last man standing. He's just trying to contest the point for as long as he possibly can, but it will be Mikado is the one to bring him down eventually, and this will be a full-on cap, and we are going to move into this street phase of Iconvolt.
And nicely played by CLG, and you see that V here is able to get so much more value out of his Resurrect because he's not playing against a team that has any ability to flank or get onto him, unless Hyped is playing really aggressive and trying to just pick off the Mercy really early on in that fight, which is a risky way to play and is probably just going to get you de-mech'd instantly. Then they have nothing else really to do with it. They can't pick off the Mercy early, they can't reduce that the Resurrect, and now they're in a position where they've got the ults to be able to defend, particularly that Nanovisor is going to be crucial.
Ooh, hydration might just be trying to dive into the belly of the beast there. They're going to be moving in as well. It's going to be the Nanovisor used actually onto Grim Reality, trying to find the kills. They do pick up Mikado. Are they going to get any more? Hydration actually utilizing that barrage to its fullest extent. Brings down Nomi and Aethan. That's huge. Bringing down two crucial picks. And there are no other abilities to really try and reset this fight. Still, Grim Reality is on the high ground. He gets rocketed up into the air, but half HP should be able to get out alive. Indeed he does. Just sprints away. Still, this was a one fight once again for CLG, and they still have ultimates to use moving into this. I mean, what do Immortals really have? They've got an Earth Shatter that's about 40% away, but nothing to appropriately defend it from. I guess Agilities is going to get his whole hog up soon, and that could do a decent amount of work, but they need to bring down Lee, who is on that on the Mercy. That Resurrect is not going to be good for them. They need to try and bring him down almost immediately.
iShiny's up there at the moment, just smacking them all around, but he's essentially delaying them because this cart is getting stealth capped. There's nobody there to block it. Nomi's definitely trying, but he's too late. Oh man, that checkpoint 2 should not have gone down so
What
easily.
in God's name was
But
that?
they're playing so much more of a mobile composition, but they're also playing more of a flanking comp that's putting a lot of pressure on them as well. iShiny and Waffletastic, although iShiny's now swapped, but when he was on Winston, Waffletastic putting a load of pressure on them. And they've got nothing to reply from Immortals. The Grim Reality playing the Soldier 76 and Agility's on the Roadhog means that they all have to play kind of in a blob death ball behind the shields, and if he's not hitting those things, the hooks, he's not going to get it.
Wow.
What was that from me?
That was a great self-destruct. That was something that you see planned, almost like the pre-grenade. Still moving into this fight. CLG seem to be losing it, but with the Resurrect will reset it. Lee pops it off, gets off a decent one. Nomi only collects one with the Earth Shatter, doesn't even claim the kill. It was only onto Mikado. The whole hog popped off by Agility. He's doing a decent job of trying to fend off CLG for now, and they are finally picking up the frags. As I say that, D just runs into them, tries to basically respawn with the rest of his team, and it will be the defense from Immortals. I kind of expect that. They had tons of ultimates to burn, and I think the best thing for them right now, and the best thing about that, is that they do have a sound barrier. They've got Grim Reality with his Tac Visor and also the Nano Boost, so they can use that in conjunction to get another solid defense.
I love this from CLG. They're switching up their composition immediately because they know that they just have one thing that they need. They switching to a composition with lots of different win conditions here. They've got the Blizzard, they've got the Graviton to work with, lots of really impactful ultimates, and they've got 2 minutes to work with, so they can afford to charge them up. They can even do a dry push here and try and force out the Nano Visor. If they get really deep into them, iShiny and Nomi trading out with the charges as well. Here comes the Nano Visor as well. They're not going to invest any ultimates into this one, just force them out of Immortals, and now they'll be in a much better position when they get their ults up next time. Minute and 45 seconds.
That was so well played. The May pick coming out into the final moments there for CLG, utilizing the wall to just block the high ground from the Soldier 76 and Anna. That is smart. That's what you like to see. That's a team that have done their research at the end of the day. They know that they're going to be going up against that. They knew that Immortals were not going to be making the switches, and they actually forced them to use that Nano combo. So really well done to them. Now CLG not wasting any time whatsoever. They move in. You got the shield. The hog gets used once again by Agility. He's going to be trying to tear through them, push them back for now. But CLG, they do have a few abilities to use if they so wish, but that was a hook by Agility. What is that? Collects Waffletastic, adds him to his collection as General, what was it? I've completely forgotten the prequel meme I was trying to refer to, but...
He got deleted off the map, by the way. But,
General Grievous, that's the one. Yeah.
And now they're pushing up really far, and this is well played now from Immortals, because now that they're into a section of the map that's more based around the tanks, the fact that they had their ultimates to work with right from the beginning and kind of got shoved all the way back and couldn't take a fight in checkpoint 2 has worked out in their favor for delaying this. Another hook onto Waffletastic. This time he gets the Zarya bubble and he's going to survive, but only for an extra 2 seconds. iShiny with the Shatter reply coming in from Nomi. This self-destruct could catch a couple of them, but iShiny's there with the shield. They use another ultimate as well. The Nano Boost goes out onto Mita, but so far CLG have just got nothing from it.
Yeah, that was really, really risky. Nomi did an excellent job of bucking off that Earth Shatter. Still, they're going to be using their Nano Boost like hyped. Don't know if I agree with that, but they're trying to win the tail end of this fight. Was that really necessary? Possibly not. It was only 2 more players remaining. Though. 14 seconds, yeah. I always get stuck up on this. That is at no time really for CLG to try and make a play. They've got ultimates to use, but they're fully playing them all the way into their spawn points. They're moving in. The charge comes in the last minute attempt by iShiny. They're moving with the Blizzard as well, but Grim Reality's already taken down so many players, so it is too little, too late, and it will be, well, CLG putting up a decent effort, but not getting it the full length of the way I can build.
Yeah, although I like the switch off from CLG in terms of the heroes and the composition that they ran at the end, I think that comp, they definitely had time to work with, but Immortals played it defensively really well, where they didn't give them any room. They didn't allow them to press up and actually take long extended fights to build their ultimates. They kept chaining individual tempo ults so that they knocked CLG back outside, and they only had one Blizzard that entire time and one Graviton, and both of them were invested in like the final fight when it was just throwaway ults, because at that point you've only got 30 seconds to work with or something, and nobody was in a position to use them. But overall, Eichenwald is a difficult map to complete, and that wasn't a bad distance for CLG.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're putting a little bit too much pressure here on CLG. This was their map pick, was it not? I believe it was, yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't probably the best showing that they were appreciating, but as you mentioned, it's one of the more difficult maps to get a fully completed run on, and they had really an excellent showing as they were moving through Streets phase, and it seemed like the momentum wasn't really slowing down. But Immortals, definitely well played to them. They put up a very solid defense in that final checkpoint. However, it is very, very difficult to push through, even with the recent changes they made. I'm not sure how recent these are now, actually thinking back. It might be a few months ago, but the changes to the door so it doesn't reclose means that it is a lot easier to push into that final checkpoint, but still one of the more difficult ones in Overwatch by far. Let's take a look at the defense side here. So it's going to be CLG setting up, and again, as we expected, setting up with the Pharah Mercy. They've got Hydration on the Pharah and the Mercy. They're also running a Diva in conjunction with that. What's your opinion on this sort of composition that they're running, just quickly?
I like it. It works really well into the tanks, especially into the triple tank. What they don't know is that Immortals are planning to dive onto them to begin with, and it's not so good against the dive. You can really win the ground fight before the fight's even over, and if they focus on picking off V in the middle of the fight and just kind of ignore Hydration, they could end up with a fairly early win and snowball some ults.
There they are, they're making the movements now. Immortals trying to basically take the back lines a little bit, just playing with their food almost, it feels like. Just waiting for the right opportunity to go in. That is a kill as Zenyatta Aethan picks up Waffle-tastic. Haven't really seen that in a while, but there we go. Picks up the initial kill. Agilities follows it up with a quick and easy, dirty little frag. Headshots onto Mikada. Will bring down another player. Agilities, a swift strike combo into Miso as he demechs him. And this is looking like a decent attempt by Immortals to get this attack. Still, frags being popped off on either side right now as they're not really focusing down the appropriate players. But with V going down, there's a significant lack of heals right now. CLG side, I still think they are going to be able to defend this though, as it's just Agilities just buying time for his team really in this corner point. He's trying to take this 1v1 against Hydration. There's no chance in hell he's going to be trying to win that one, but Hydration finally claiming the kill. But the good thing about that is Agilities did buy tons of time for his team to try and pop in here, and now they have got once again another decent foothold for the next push, as Agilities is already up and he's already moving in with almost a Dragon Blade ready here, Sideshow.
Yeah, they don't really have anything to reply to that with either. Both of the support ults only halfway to being built. Hydration's got his barrage, but I mean that more often than not just leaves you as a sitting duck. So it's on Immortals to try and engage here. Agility's 97%. Nomi's the first one to get a little bit of position, but barrage comes in onto Nomi. See if he can leap away from that into the air. Gets sliced and iced. But Nomi falls. Agilities picks up 2-3 now with his Dragon Blade that he managed to get a lot of value out of. He has been picked on 90%. Getting close to the ultimate there, but not enough to save the rest of the team.
Styling on them. Immortals, to go for this last push here. Waffle-tastic is going to go down. The Primal Rage is used by iShiny to contest the best of their abilities. He's now going to jump straight back in, but he's almost going to be made into mincemeat almost immediately. Mikado, again, another last-ditch effort as they're trying to run on. It's just the stragglers at this point from the side of CLG, just buying as much time as they possibly can, as all the members of Immortals are currently up, waiting for them. And they are going to be able to get the cap for this first point on Archenvolt. So they move into the streets phase now with actually a few staggered kills off the back of it as well. Grim Reality winning the 1v1 against Waffle-tastic. He's so far forward, almost in their spawn, it feels like. However, ultimates to use on the side of CLG.
They don't know
but
where
I think
iShiny is. He was just up on this battlement for ages and they had no idea, and he somehow manages to get the pick on Aethan anyway, even after they find him. Oh man, the sneaky Winston. But this is such a spread out fight. They're using the self-destruct as well, committing to this one. And they only have one guy. Verbo just sat there on the point, AFK, winsing it up. But
sending out a tweet or two.
Yeah, but that's going to allow the rest of the CLG lineup to retake position. Iconval can be sticky in this manner anyway, because there's a lot of different ways of moving around this castle. But for now, Immortals getting into a decent position. They've still got a lot of ultimate to work with.
This is a really strange attempt because iShiny was in the back just contesting the cart, so they didn't actually get much time. And Immortals were trying to spawn camp them this entire engagement. And now finally the fight is being taken really in the streets phase where it belongs. And they're going to be trying to focus down Agilities, which they do successfully do. It's going to be Hydration who finds out the Rocket Barrage to follow it up. That's a damage boost on him as well. Claims Nomi. Waffle-tastic the follow-up onto Verbo. So definitely the kills rolling in for CLG just now, looking a bit more comfortable as they've got this foothold. However, the thing is, Immortals have tons of ultimates to utilize here. Agilities has his Dragon Blade. I think what they're waiting for is if they can get a pick onto D before he can get his Resurrect off. That's really the crucial entry go point for when they really go all out with all these ultimates.
Or they can pair up either of their support ults, particularly the Sound Barrier with the Dragon Blade, and just go straight onto the anytime they like. But Waffle-tastic's doing a great job here of putting the pressure onto Agility, so he can't get in position to do that at any point. They've had to use the Sound Barrier, both of their support ults actually, and out comes the Dragon Blade. See what Agility can get. He started with a pick on the Miso, see if he can get onto the D. He can't quite, only on about 50 health, but manages to get in the res, and now it's a 6v6 fight, and no support ults up for Immortals.
super well played there by Immortals. They by CLG at the same time is both teams still taking this fight as Hydration and Dio are still in the skies raining down the hell, but I think this might just be their demise. Oh no, Hydration comes out with a barrage, pops off with that damage boost, does claim 1 kill. They just can't seem to bring down this Fire of Mercy combo. It's honestly ridiculous. They're taking so much time, and they honestly bought so much time for CLG as well to come straight back into this. Immortals are still not trying to give it up without a fight. Still 2 minutes remaining. Has the call been made to reset this? No, the players are suddenly back in. It's this never-ending fight that seems to be kicking off here around his payload. Shiny moves into the back, tries to try and basically pull a few players back so they can take the fight onto the point. Immortals are firmly sort of placed around the point now, just trying to push it in as much as they possibly can. Self-destruct's going to get committed as well. One of the scrappiest fights I think I've ever seen in Overwatch right now, as it's just never-ending. Shiny moves his way around. Finally, CLG looking like they're slowly on the receiving end, or just basically dishing out the pain rather than receiving it, and they have managed to find their footing in this defense. And they are going to be able to reset the fight finally to a hold. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think that fight kind of broke down into a couple of stages. First of all, they kill most of the CLG players that are around and just leave the Fire Mercy, so they feel like they can take the rest of the fight. Then they eventually kill the Fire Mercy, but the spawners come in, so now they're battling the spawners without the Fire Mercy. It's like 2 separate portions of CLG that they were fighting throughout that time and kind of alternating between the two. But eventually the spawners came out in favor of CLG and they were able to kind of take that one, and now Immortals aiming to take the high ground, and in comes Agilities with that Dragon Blade. He's so weak though, not pairing it up with any support ultimate. It's a pick onto the Diva, but what else can he get? He's not in a position to take out the Farah Mercy combo, but Hype does that for him.
Grim Reality got a crucial kill onto D there before he could get the res off. That is excellent for his team, and I think Immortals now have a very solid chance of pushing this all the way in. They've already got, who is it there? Verbo on the cart himself, just pushing it all the way in. The Primal Rage is going to get used here by Shiny to just contest the point to the best of his abilities, but Nomi's got one of his own, and he's just made basically Waffle-tastic into mincemeat once again, pummeling them down. He knocks Miso off as well in the mech, so he's claiming kill after kill here. Hydration utilizes the barrage into the back lines there as well, so they have brought down Verbo, and that is going to be a missing sound barrier. Mikado ends up falling to the self-destruct as well. One of the scrappiest fights again that we're seeing in these street phases. This Resurrect comes out from the side of CLG to try and bring these remain players up, and it looks like it might be a successful defense, but with the overtime ticking over, Immortals are forced to use the ultimates. They need to get onto the cart. They use the sound barrier to try and buy some precious time. Verbo's trying his hardest, but I think right now it is too little too late. CLG will be able to claim Eichenwald with a very, very solid defense in the street phase. They were playing the spawners so well that game.
Yeah, they definitely weren't afraid to take fights using their spawners. They didn't back off at any portion there. They're buying time with their Farah Mercy for their spawners to come back in, and then when their spawners are there, you know, it's much more difficult to get onto the Farah Mercy and cycling that around. And at no point Grim Reality was able to get onto their Farah Mercy. Every time he tried to get a position up onto the battlements, he was just spammed by Waffle-tastic, who was getting around and really being a pain from behind. So that's a well thought through composition that works to the strengths of CLG.
Agilities just went ham here, didn't he? We didn't really talk. I mean, I actually did mention Agilities quite a lot. I was about to say we didn't really talk much about him, but no, we talked an awful lot about Agilities and the impact he had on Genji. But that was insane play, just really putting an end to the Farah Mercy, utilizing the, of course, Swift Strike resets every time he got those eliminations to take down the Farah Mercy combo of CLG. Still wasn't good enough. CLG ended up winning it in the end. And the next map we're going to be going into is Numbani. So second time we are seeing Numbani today.
Well, just a note about Agilities there before we move on to Numbani is that Agilities was definitely playing his individual heroes really well, and they needed him to be delivering in those fights to be able to use his Dragon Blade and actually deal with the Farah Mercy, so that you've got some way of dealing with them that's quicker than just kind of eventually spamming them down after you bait them to the point and kill all the rest of their team. But the problem was that Waffle-tastic and Hydration were putting a lot of pressure on their back lines, and that was meaning that the supports were never in a position to actually help Agilities get in place with his Dragon Blade. Whenever they had a support ultimate, be that the Transcendence or the Sour Barrier, to be able to use alongside Agility's Dragon Blade, they got it forced out incredibly early. So CLG had a really good read on when they had those active, and were putting a lot of pressure on their support line with Waffle-tastic, particularly when that was happening. And that was putting Agilities in a real sticky position, because he had all the tools to work with. He just couldn't get in the place to be able to use them properly. So, but that's credit to CLG for making that happen.
Forcing their hand a little bit there as well. So I believe both teams are ready. We will be diving into the next map shortly. Is it CLG are actually going to be on the defense here for Numbani, first of all? What's your opinion on basically the first pick of what side you're on in Numbani? Because Numbani's a map where, more often than not, it's actually quite common to get full held on that first point if you're not careful.
Yeah, it can be not more often than not, but it definitely can be. It's like more often than on certain other hybrid maps.
Right. Yeah.
Numbani can be more difficult to push the first point of. Particularly, I think if you don't have a strategy or the other team has a composition that kind of counters yours, and you get stuck into feeding them ultimates in the first push when you don't quite know how they're set up, and then once you have the plan, you're then at an ultimate disadvantage. So it can snowball against you in that kind of sense. But I gotta say that CLG should have, at least on the offense, a pretty good setup just with their default composition, because I assume they're going to be running with the Farah Mercy the whole time anyway, which is fairly reasonable. It's going to be a little difficult to approach Grim Reality down this main avenue. But then Waffletastic has been getting behind with his Tracer repeatedly. And that's something that Immortals are really going to have to watch out for when they're defending. Because if you manage to flank him behind and pinch them in this tunnel when when Hydration and Dia are approaching him from the front, that's going to get super sticky for Aethan and Grim Reality as they post up there. But it's not them on the defense to start with, it is CLG, and for the moment, I mean, we certainly could be seeing the Torbjorn come out, but not from iShiny, I would I would imagine. The Torbjorn, it's not really better in North America. It can be a very risky thing to try and pull out. If it doesn't go well on the first fight, then you don't build up the armor kind of momentum or the... So you can end up being at a severe disadvantage if the first fight goes badly. It's a risk that a lot of these teams don't want to take.
So they were teasing the idea of the Torbjorn, but iShiny switches to the Hanzo. Whether or not they still actually go with it is yet to be seen. But yeah, it can work on Numbani first. Yeah, he's just swapping to whatever he feels like it. But I mean, if we are going to focus on Torbjorn for a small time here, iShiny now finally switches back to the Winston. So he's going to be going back to that signature role, and it's going to be the 2-2 with the Fire Mercy for CLG on the defense. I actually really like I like this combination really quite a lot, to be honest, because Numbani, you need a lot of mobility, and it's one of their comfort picks as well.
Yeah, I think one of the issues with it is that if your Fire Mercy gets picked, then you don't really have another stable thing to fall back to. Waffletastic's just kind of a harass DPS hero, and most teams will run like a Soldier 76, so you've got consistent damage that's coming from the high ground. And running a triple tank over on the other side, look at that! That's a great concussion blast. Boops two of them down. That surely is going to be an early fight, early victory for the CLG. Position has been completely denied.
That's exactly what they wanted. They still want to make the plays, though. Hydration has picked off agilities, and Nomi charges in. A last-ditch effort, I think, to get something out of that initial push. And the call has been made. Immortals, they cannot hope to really contest that whatsoever. They back off fully. And CLG with another solid defense. And this is that trouble, the thing that we were discussing before, where you lose the initial engagement, suddenly the defending team has a big ult advantage. And look at that already. D is about 40% away from his Resurrect. That builds incredibly fast. Hydration almost with the barrage as well, 40% away from them. Nomi is the only person with any significant charge with 60% on the Earth Shatter. And look at this. This is an interesting strat by Immortals right now. Just speed boosting all the way around. They want to take a fight in the street section behind them, trying to wrap around fully. Maybe playing around the hook cooldowns. They do manage to get one onto Misa. That's pretty big. D-meching the Diva can be quite big when they're trying to take this first point, but they're not really contesting the point for now. Finally going to start moving onto it with Nomi and Hyped. The post bomb connects, though. It's not going to bring Hyped out of the mech. Hydration utilizing his barrage as well into the back, brings down Affen. Still, this fight continues. CLG doing a decent job of defending this, not really giving up the high ground, just picking off players wherever they possibly can. Agilities is trying to find players with his hooks, but right now as this fight is tailing off, the soundbar are used by CLG as well, along with the whole hog. Agility's got them trapped in the corner. This is excellent usage of the whole hog, but he will go down eventually. I think even if the point is being contested here, CLG do manage to defend this.
It was a nice play by Immortals to try and push things down into the streets phase where they can, as you were going to say, as you were saying, play around the hook cooldown, but they also have Grim Reality and Hyped to focus down Hydration if they come in. And they actually got the pick on Hydration when he committed to the barrage. Grim Reality got that kill, but once they got the kill, there was so much pressure onto Hype that he got demeched, and then they don't really have the peel ability to put that fight back onto the point. So again, Nomi's being booped off, and this is what we weren't seeing earlier from Cloud9 in their fixture. NRG were able to take the point immediately with their triple tank because they weren't booping those tanks off the top. But when you got the concussion blast plus the Winston's potential boot plus your Lucio and your Diva, I mean, almost everybody on this team can knock these tanks off, and that makes such a risky play to go for. They could even try pushing all the way under and up through the tunnel and taking the top left from them, but the win condition here for Immortals is that they have to either set Grim Reality up for a couple of great picks, or they need to get a hook from Agilities, and they've now switched off because that wasn't working.
Yeah, they really needed to hit their hook. Basically, essentially, Agilities needed his hooks to be on point. Really, he was only picking up Miso here and there, but now finally they're making the changes. The Pharaoh Mercy battle straight in the air. Ultimates being exchanged absolutely everywhere. It's the sound barrier by CLG. They're looking to defend this even further, and they are definitely getting the kills to match it. Not actually finding too much there. Grim Reality goes down with the Tac Visor, and this will be, once again, another one fight here for CLG in the final moments of this first Numbani defense. This is what I'm talking about. Numbani, one of those really quite hard to break into maps as soon as you fail that first defense, because you're almost perpetually at this disadvantage.
For sure, and now but 30 seconds and they're going to be up against a Resurrect, so it's incredibly crucial that they get the pick on D early in the fight, because they don't even have the ultimate bank to be able to bait the Resurrect out and then take the fight afterwards. It's just not going to happen, barring some ridiculous tactical visor coming out from Grim Reality, but he's working his way up to the top left at the moment, see if he can pick that one off, see at what point they choose to engage.
Verbo gets the boop off onto iShiny there. The self-destruct is going to come out. Waffle-tastic brings down Nomi as well. Still, this fight looking okay for them. Grim Reality going to get destroyed by the barrage, but Agilities meets him head-on with another rocket of his own. There's that Resurrect that we were waiting for. CLG going to be resetting the fight now from Immortals. Immortals still trying to take it, but they're losing all of their players. Agilities is forced back off into the streets when there's overtime ticking over. It's just Verbo left on the point to contest it. Already half-time onto it. The Primal Rage does come out from Nomi, but it's really a last-ditch effort to try and buy some time for the rest of his team to come into this. They do not have any ults to use. There's no Resurrect on Athan waiting to be popped in. No heroes never die today, at least. And CLG, all they got to do is pick up these stragglers, and they will find that they full hold Immortals. That is incredible.
Whoa, that is such a performance coming out from CLG. Yeah. They look rejuvenated. They've absolutely hammered home this Pharaoh Mercy combo that they've been working on for a while now. And I mean, I thought from their recent performances in like the Rumble and stuff that teams had really got the read on that, and they knew what they were doing and how to play into it. But so far, CLG have been putting on the textbook performance of how you would want to play this composition. Waffle-tastic Hydration being their two like kind of key points of contact there, at least aggressively. But the rest of the team is playing so well around them, and they know exactly how to counter all these different attacks that Immortals were throwing at them. And Immortals just couldn't find the right card to play to be able to come out with the victory on that first point, and now they're in such a sticky position.
Yeah, they need to obviously full hold them, otherwise this map is going to be almost a loss. And as we're going into the final moments here, this is the sort of really the all-out compositions that you normally see them play. This is where you see the Torbjorn pulled out, because it's where he really excels at. But and yeah, I mean they're not going to consider the Torbjorn whatsoever, which I actually do think is probably the smartest play when you're up against Hydration and on the Pharaoh Mercy combo, because even though Torbjorn is a bit of a nuisance to sort of the Divey Pharaoh Mercy sort of combo, it's definitely not a counter by any means. And if a team is smart, they'll play around him, and you'll just basically be taking fights almost 5v6, because you'll find that the Torbjorn doesn't have that much of an impact. In
especially because the places that they'd want to put their turrets to be able to deny Waffle-tastic going for flanks if he's going to be playing the Tracer are ones where it's actually really open for Hydration and to be able to get onto them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, Torbjorn probably not the pick here whatsoever. So they're going with almost a mirror matchup here. Mikado is running the Hanzo. I think this might just be initially so that they can arrow up possibly one of the buildings, and just so they can get some vision, and he will probably switch right back off that. But Agilities with the instant frag to Waffle-tastic. That's a damage boosted rocket right into him. It's going to bring him down swiftly, buying a bit of time for them. They are certainly going to try their hardest to get this defense going fully. Mikado now finally switching back to his Lucio role as well. And they're going to try and hold on for now. Just really emphasizing a big hold on this top left area.
Yeah, this first fight's going to be absolutely pivotal. So far, Waffle-tastic looking like he's zipping behind, so he wants to get right behind there. Grim Reality's not going to give him too much space, just make sure that he knows exactly where he's going. But he chose not to try and pinch up top. They don't really have a base of positions, because they're playing with the Lucio and the Mercy, so instead, much more down to how they deal with this Pharaoh.
Trying to bring him down, but they are struggling, so to speak. Hydration is just free to rain down these rockets from above. iShiny brings down Nomi as well. Point to get contested momentarily, but they are finding the kills on the side of CLG as well, as they're just flooding through. Agilities gets the D-Mech on, but Hydration is on a mad one. He brings
they're
down
capping the point as well. They only need 33%. It's almost there.
So
it's contested.
Close. Unbelievable. They're just trying to bring him down desperately, but this Pharah Mercy combo is going to be popping off the barrage, but too little too late. They didn't contest the point enough, and that will be GG as map number 2 goes to CLG once again. An outstanding performance by them.
Yeah, that's so difficult for Immortals to be set in, because not only do they want a composition that like plays well into them, and they went for the mirror matchup, but they also need a composition that contests the point. Obviously, we're not on the old patch where you would only have to get 0.1% to be able to win. Yeah. Blizzard have changed that so that you now need a full tick, so that's 33%. But they just don't have the health pool to be able to contest the point at the same time as trying to make things work. I got Mikado going on a booping spree here.
Yeah, this is what I was really impressed with as well. A lot of the environmental kills being played by CLG, just that entire game, it felt like they were getting insane concussion blasts, forcing the low ground, booping people off the map 24/7. You might have heard me gasping a few times when you were trying to take away the play-by-play, Josh. I was just like, oh, another boop, another boop.
They played that really well, and so far CLG have looked like they have a strategy that they want to hammer home, and they're not deviating from it pretty much at all. They did on the final stretch of Eichenwald, which is reasonable. That's a much more closed off area. We have seen Faraz do reasonably well in the final stage of Eichenwald, but you need some kind of distraction on the low ground to be able to make that work, more than just a single tracer. And this is going to be interesting because now we get the matchup on Lijiang Tower, which I think I would have definitely said would go over the way of Immortals. But
really?
Yeah, like coming into this, but
yes,
having seen how CLG have been performing, especially when you consider like the ability of teams to play Pharah, certainly on the Garden stage and the Control Center, then they could definitely make something happen here. A 3-0 upset of Immortals would be unbelievable to start out this tournament.
Yeah, it would be incredible, especially because I think we were both considering, and ZP and Hex as well. I think they would consider that Immortals were going to be one of the top teams coming into this. CLG just showing a completely different side to them. But yeah, no, I'm 100% with you on the fact that before this game even begun, Lijiang Tower would have probably pinned down to Immortals. But the way CLG are playing is phenomenal. They're utilizing the Fire Mercy time and time again to the fullest extent, using concussion blasts for environmental kills, forcing the positionings. And Immortals, they're trying to deal with it with their own way. They were trying to mirror the comps in the final months of that Numbani game, but it just wasn't working out for them. They just, when you're off to that bad of a start, when you get full held on Numbani, the morale's going to be low, and you're going to be struggling to really find your footing, I think. So moving into Lijiang now, and another point to make as well is this. I think this was CLG's map pick as well. So really, it's going to be difficult for them.
True. I think the advantage for Immortals, though, if we consider the way that these two teams have been matching up, the stylistic matchup that seems to work best for these two teams is when Immortals just go full out and try to dive straight into them and ignore the Pharah Mercy for the most part, try and win the battle on the ground, and then turn their attention back to them before. Now, that didn't work on Eichenwald when they were playing it because they didn't have the space and position to be able to initiate into them to get their dive off. And their supports were getting pressured in the back line. They couldn't get Agilities in a great position, although when they did, he was really popping off. But that isn't going to happen on Lijiang. Like, the spawn is so close to where the action's actually happening that it's going to be super difficult for CLG to actually deny them any position to get set up in the first place. So this is real potential here for Immortals to show us that once they do get set up, they can wipe the floor with CLG when they're just playing their dive composition. I'd like to see them go towards that and play, like, for example, on the Control Center, where we see ourselves now, Agilities, Grim Reality, Genji, Soldier 76, see if they can really send it to CLG.
Interestingly enough as well, for this section, the control center of Lijiang Tower, I agree. You might question it, but I agree with the fact that it seems like CLG here are experimenting with, they got the Rhine, they got the triple tank bit going basically, but instead of using like an Ana to supplement it, they're still going to use the Zenyatta. He's going to be on the Zenyatta, but Hydration isn't going to be on the Pharah now. He's going to be on the Roadhog.
Yes,
so playing around the hook cooldown. So it seems strange, but I do actually favor it coming into this because the Pharah in here, it doesn't really have any nooks and crannies to hide around other than the high balcony area or the large health pack section of the point. so it maybe wouldn't have worked out just as well for them, so they're experimenting with it. I definitely do like it. We'll see if it works out in their favor, though, as we're leading into this first round.
Yeah, the problem is that they have to give up all of this position because they're playing against a dive team that's also got quite a bit of poke. Whoa, they come back in now, though, and CLG just destroy Aethan and D-Mech Hype. They're picking off all of the tanks, focusing them down. Now they've got to deal with some slippery DPS, but once you're in a 3v6 situation, I mean, there's nothing they're going to be able to do. And that was explosive coming out from CLG, actually. I felt like, definitely, if Immortals had taken the initiation, like had decided just to push when they had the position all around the point, then they would have got a more favorable engagement. But as it is, CLG have taken that one conclusively.
And CLG are flexing now. They're showing that they can play the multitude of compositions. They're not just stuck into this Pharah Mercy. They're really showing all of their colors, if you like. And now they're going to be initiating into the back lines. Immortals trying to make it happen. Nomi is just running down the supports, but he's going to get taken out by Waffletastic. A great flashbang combo. Finds the kill. The Deadeye is going to be utilized here. Going to be trying to find a kill or two, but I think Immortals are slowly but surely bringing this one back.
Yeah, although they got the first pick on them, they're playing a dive composition that can attack from anywhere. Oh, Agility's actually popped out his Dragon Blade there, but got taken out. Thankfully, he keeps it, gets refunded. And Mikado goes down as well when he had the sound barrier available. So players falling. Wow. Look at that. Earthshatter picked up two, but he's not going to get there in time. Gets taken out by that DPS Lucio from Verbo, who picks up another kill on the Waffletastic at the end. So now Immortals in control of the point, showing that they can definitely recontest this kind of portion, and they've got the ults to be able to hold on to it for quite a while.
Absolutely. Look at that. The amount of ultimates they've got, absolutely stacked. Ice Shiny in the tail end of that fight used his Earth Shatter in the final moments, and Aethan got up a clutch Transcendence to try and save the rest of his team, so they didn't have the damage, and they've got the recap. And now, look at the amount of ultimates they've got to use. If Agilities moves into the back and they bring down Mikado almost instantly, it's going to be a one fight for them. And making it happen, Waffletastic actually finds the kill onto Aff, and Agilities goes down as well, so this is a great fight for CLG to take. They're moving all the way in. They're picking up all the right targets as well before they can get any of their ultimates off, and this should be another recontention, and they are going to be able to get the point as Hype is the last man standing.
I don't know whether Hydration dropped from above there or just came from a flank, but he immediately found two quick hooks and quick deletions. Obviously, if you are playing the Roadhog, you're playing with such playing against people with such little health pools that you can just instantly delete people. But loads of ultimates. They didn't choose to use any ults there, Immortals, in that fight, but now they're in a bit of a sticky position. CLG holding really far up.
Miso is the man to watch here. He's got that Graviton Surge on hand. It needs to not get 8 in the end, and he gets it. He collects it. That's going to be moving on to all three of them right now on Immortals. Verbo ends up getting a Soundbarrier off, though, and they find the kill as well. And was that a sleep dart I saw as well coming out from them? Immortals just turning it around. They pick up 3 kills. They're going to take the fight in the outer area now. Miso's going to get ran down. It's Mikado, and he tries to basically escape. Agilities is hot on his heels, trying to take this 1v1 against the DPS Lucio, just running around circles. Agilities still popping off. Finds a kill onto Waffletastics, and this will be the recap with 94% remaining for CLG. So really well played once again by Immortals to retake that, and they have ultimates to use to try and defend it with. Grim Reality with the Tac Visor, Nomi with his Primal Rage, and even a self-destruct on Hype, so a lot of opportunities to make it work. However, they are going up against the Earth Shatter and the Pulse Bomb and the Nano Boost.
Look at this flank from Waffletastic. He's got in all the way behind her, and he's got the Pulse Bomb. Hydration gets a hook onto Verbo as well, so these two flankers trying to do as much work as they can from CLG. The last two alive, though, around on the point with Mikado, who almost gets a boop actually onto Aethan and forces out the Transcendence.
This is really well played, actually, by CLG. They've honestly played that to perfection. They didn't use any ultimates, realistically. I don't think they didn't use... No, did he use Hydration's Whole Hog? I don't even think he had it. So they used no ultimates, and they managed to pop off several in response to it. Attack Visor went down, the Sound Barrier, and Transcendence. So they're in a very, very solid position to get this retake now. So Immortals are going to be sweating as they're moving into this. Ice Shiny with the great Earth Shatter. Connects onto 3 of them. That's what we like to see. The Pulse Bomb from Waffletastic is just the icing on the cake as Verbo is going to fall. The Nano Boost, just for added extra measure, goes on to Miso to bring down these stragglers. The point is flipped, and with 99% overtime ticking over, I think this is firmly round number 1 going to be once again going to CLG. They have played outstandingly.
Wow, well, they absolutely destroyed them there. I think that was a game of millimeters as it came towards the end, but they were certainly in a great position, having held on to the point for so long and built themselves up to 94%. You know, you're in one and done territory at that point, and then set themselves for an ultimate advantage.
Yeah, what a call by CLG to recognize that they could try push in that situation and force out a few ultimates. That was outstanding from them. And this is a completely different side of CLG that we're seeing. They're playing incredibly well. Moving in now, this is, of course, going to be the bridge section of Legion Tower,
Yeah.
and we're moving over to the Pharaoh Mercy once again. So,
Well, I assume we're switching over to the Pharaoh Mercy on CLG, but for
You
the
would
moment
assume.
they've got the... Yeah, here we go. So Thea is going to switch over to the Mercy instead of the Ana. Actually changed from Zenyatta over to Ana towards the latter portion of Control Center, because they weren't getting quite the required heals onto the rest of the team, but now they're back to their bread and butter, which is this Pharaoh Mercy plus the Tracer with the Diva Winston comp. I mean, both Farah's just going to be trading kind of spam onto the rest of their team at the moment. And for the moment, it does look like CLG's got a good engage, but Miso's been demeched and is instantly going to fall.
Immortals got an early advantage there when it came to the health pool. The heals just could not keep up. CLG were getting absolutely battered there. As you can see, the remnants of the players, basically the stragglers, just dropping off the edge. And as the point unlocks, it will be Immortals to claim the first round for this one. So much better showing than what we've seen in the past. And look at that. Post bomb on Grim Reality already up. It just builds so quickly, and I imagine he's going to be trying to utilize that, pick it off on a player or two. Needs to make sure it doesn't get ate by Miso, but right now, the initiation coming in by CLG from the flank with the Farah Mercy. Hydration trying to search for a rocket or two as he's taking a fight against Agilities. Moving in from Reality, finally opting to use that pulse bomb, and he does claim a kill onto Mikado. That's pretty big for them. Still contesting this to the best of their abilities. Waffletastic claims a kill onto Nomi. And CLG is struggling to find a foothold right now as Immortals have a very solid defense.
Oh, Grim Reality's going wild on Tracer right now. He really hasn't been playing too much of it so far this series. Was mostly sticking to the Soldier 76 when we were playing 222 comps, but he's been slamming them so far. And Ethan built up his Resurrect way quicker than D as well. So he could even pop, he could realistically pop a res in the next fight and then still be competitive with the build rate within the next couple if they take a slightly slower approach to the next fight. So they've got it up for this fight.
They certainly do. The initiation once again comes in from CLG. They're trying to flank from the back end, if you like, and see if they can force a fight onto the point. Agilities once again claims a kill onto Hydration. He's constantly winning these duels, it feels like, between them in the skies. Still a fight being taken into the basically inner reaches of the guard section right now. And they do finally pick up the kill onto Grim Reality, and that is going to force out the Resurrect from the side of Immortals. The EVA Defense Matrix doing a decent job of denying Agility's barrage in the mix of it. Now finally the Resurrect going to be popping off from the other side as well, so it's a 6v6 engagement as it stands. The first kill going to be popped off as Verbo does end up going down. Waffletastic again popping off for days, finding these kills. CLG actually finally showing a few signs of life here as they are looking to win this. The ultimates, Nomi and Grim Reality actually died there without popping off their own ultimates in the midst of all this, so they do have an opportunity to recap this, but Immortals honestly are doing an incredible job of staggering us out. They are not giving them any room, and look at that, it's 99% overtime ticked over. That is
this delay
pretty
is
insane.
Crazy. It's crazy coming out from Immortals. They managed to take this all the way to 99. They can back off now. You know, they don't need to contest any further because they're in one and done territory, and the CLG have to hold it for another 100 seconds. But you got to remember, this is the last map potentially in this series, which is insane. If CLG take this point and then take another one, they've done a 3-0 sweep of Immortals. So this is, their backs are against the wall completely here. Immortals have to show a rejuvenated self, a new form, as we've started seeing from them here on Gardens.
They're moving in though. Sound barrier comes out for the side of CLG, trying to defend them up if they potentially can. D is very close to a Resurrect, so they need to be careful of that. So are both of these teams. Primary Rage comes out from Nomi. He DMX Miso in the midst of it. Waffletastic does get that crucial kill onto Agilities though before he can get off the barrage. Self-destruct gets launched into the mix as well. Not quite finding the kills with it. And Nathan dies. That's a Resurrect gone. CLG are 100% most likely going to be winning this fight now. That was the crucial pick they needed to move into this. And Hydration, as you'd expect, absolutely destroying the opposition. Immortals did not stand a chance. Is he really going to go for it? Is he going to go for the second kill onto Agilities as well? Not quite. The team is there to back him up. But honestly, that is a standout performance, but they really need to be careful now with the Resurrect available, and also, I guess, Grim Reality with his Pulse Bomb. If he connects it onto a support, they could be in trouble.
Yeah, the thing is, though, they didn't manage to force any ultimates out of CLG there. That's what they were going for, but they didn't get the res, they didn't get the barrage. You know, there's not even Chinese ultimate out, so there's so many things that could potentially go wrong for them as this point starts getting ticked up by CLG. Big fight around the point here. A rocket barrage coming in from Agility. He's going to find a couple of them. Huge amount of damage done to iShiny and Mikado. There's the res coming in. Ethan's still got his in the back pocket and uses it. So a fair 6v6 fight, but Hype's the first to fall. It does look like Immortals are getting the better end of this one. In the end, though, they've got both of their DPS players alive. iShiny uses that, which is a little bit questionable. Oh, didn't even get back
He
in.
just jumps off it. The overtime, they get the recap. That's actually such a big mistake. iShiny was trying to focus down agilities on the fire, and he's ended up leaving the point for it. Now the rest of his team is moving in. They do have a few ultimates to use. The self-destruct, I believe, gets popped off. Indeed, it does. Miso going to be seeing if he can claim a kill. Not quite. Still the fight being taken to the fully limits of this entire match. There's no resurrects to try and reset the fight on either side here. It's a mismatch of abilities right now. Grim Reality collects the kill onto D. Mikado gets the D-Mech as well onto Hyped. But are they really going to be able to do this? What a post bomb by Wolftastic. That could be it. He potentially may have just turned this fight around. That is insane. He brings down Verbo. That is a crucial pick. Lucio not going to be able to get those heals off, and they will be able to recap it. That was huge.
Oh, there's 5 seconds left essentially here. They might just get players in. If they get a speed boost from Verbo or potentially get agilities in the play, they could have contested that, but just not going to be able to. The boop comes in there onto Nomi, and Waffletastic turned that fight around. It looked like it was slowly slipping away from CLG, but as soon as you get those 2 picks, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, that was the turning point. Complete 180. That fight was looking won and dusted for Immortals. And then Waffletastic just pulls out one of the best pulse bombs we've seen. If you ever needed to hit a clutch pulse bomb in any situation, it had to have been that. And now, if you're Immortals, you've got to be feeling the pressure. This is potentially your last map, and you are 2 rounds down now in this final moments of Lijiang Tower.
They have to complete the reverse sweep on Lijiang, and then the reverse sweep in the reverse sweep in the series. That's unbelievable that CLG have put them in this position. I honestly can't believe it. CLG look like a different team, and Immortals are struggling. They're definitely struggling to deal with this Pharah Mercy combo with Wolftastic as well. And again, they're going for the mirror matchup, hoping that they can just skill it out.
Yeah, different sides of the point going to be taken by both these teams, and they're immediately fighting in the right in the thick of it. Essentially, as iShiny finds the first kill onto Nomi. Verbo's in the back lines, but he might be mincemeat as he's just getting ran down. But no, there's new Lucio heals coming in handy. He gets healed up in a very rapid fashion. Still, not many kills being popped off on either side, but Grim Reality finally decides to change that in his favor. CLG, though, they get the cap and they get this first point. Are they going to be able to hold on to it, though? That is the question. Still early days. D is going to fall, which means it's not going to be building that resurrection for CLG. And Immortals look to be in the driving seat for now. As they pick up the final few members of this team, they are going to get the
They were in the driving seat almost the whole time on Gardens as well, though, and then they just let it slip away from them, and CLG came back with a ridiculous comeback on the map. Just staggering Miso a little bit now, just making sure that those spawns are going to come in a little later, as both teams are on 13%. And the pulse bombs up for both teams. Not so much an ultimate that you keep track of, more just a constant annoyance.
Yeah.
The traces build it up so quickly that you kind of have to expect that it's up almost all the time.
Aethan's in trouble here. He's getting jumped on. That was incredible, actually. Waffletastic managed to get so much damage off into Aethan, and he's forced him all the way back. Pulse Bomb's going to be committed there by Grim Reality. Doesn't quite claim the kill for Immortals, but they're still going to be making it work. Waffletastic with a great shot, but Agilities comes out with the 2K. Waffletastic and Shiny falling in the midst of it. There's no Resurrect available to try and bring these teammates back up. And this is exactly what they needed. They're trying to force it out. The fight, the longer this goes on, the worse it is for CLG right now. And they're just slowly but surely just dying one at a time. And they finally can make the call to get the reset as they jump off the edge of the map. So Immortals still in full control here. And they've got the ultimates to boot. That's the most important factor.
Rezzes are going to be in for this next fight as Immortals tick their way up to 60%. And this is the point at which CLG need to flip it over. They've got a cushion in terms of rounds, you know. They don't absolutely have to win this one. This is Immortals to lose. In comes Agilities with the barrage. Hydration dunks a quick 2 rockets onto his head, but he comes in with the res, as does Aethan. Both res is committed here. And iShiny is a very early death in terms of the second portion of this fight. He's taking a bit of damage as the fight now centralizes around the point. CLG have got a lot of cap time as the self-destruct is contained inside that Winston barrier, but again, Agility's coming out with the 2K. And so far, as soon as they've switched him over to Pharah, he has been delivering.
Yeah, he's popping off this game. If there was ever a time for him to really perform, it would be absolutely right now. But Immortals have got such a long way to go. I don't want to call it just yet, but they are really showing some serious signs of strength so far. And now it's the last-ditch effort by CLG. They're going to contest the point. iShiny uses his Primal Rage to just get a bit of touching time on it. Now they're going to be moving in with the Soundbar as well, so CLG got a bit of more extra health to try and make some magic happen. They can try and take it away from Immortals in a 3-0 sweep. We will soon see, but this is really now all the Immortals show. They're trying to find these kills. Miso is destroying them right now on the Diva roll, finding the kills, the overtime ticking over. There's no Resurrect available for Immortals, and it will be CLG finally getting the cap for the second time this game. A long way to go and no ultimates to use, whereas Immortals are very close to a self-destruct, they're very close to a barrage, and you know, Affin, he's about 80% to his res, and that'll just be 100 in no time.
Yeah, they're looking in a great position to recap here and win this next fight. There's always a lot of variance though when they're running these compositions, because you can just swing the entire tide of a fight based on how your Pharah Mercy or your Tracer does in these situations. But they've also got the ult on Nomi as well, so if things start going south, it can delay for a long time. And that pick on the Miso to start off is going to be great, as Agility starts off with a barrage as well, which instantly gets him killed, but that Resurrect is there to him straight back in the fight.
Oh, and he dies! Wait, he dies! That's insane. He just got the res. It's so unfortunate for CLG. But Immortals now to get the recap. The overtime ticks down. It's just Waffle-tastics against the world. He's not going to be able to do it. Miso now tries to play the point. The post bomb comes on. They boop him back. But he's just a little baby diva. What can he realistically do? Ice Shiny moves into the back. Finder Spawner's going to be coming up from this. It's going to take one hell of a stagger for CLG to have any chance of trying to hold this off for now. Mikado, now it's his turn to try and die onto the point. Tries to get it off. That's a res from D. This could have turned it around. They're trying to make it work. Barrage pops off by Hydration, but he only claimed one kill before going down. Now comes the sound barrier for the side of Immortals. It's the final moments of this fight. They pick up 2 more kills apiece. The self-destruct used. Is he going to claim any kill? Not quite. The overtime ticks over. And that will be Immortals claiming a much-needed round. And they've got such a way to go, haven't they? They need to reverse sweep this entire map and then reverse sweep the whole entire series.
If ever there was a time for incredible mental strength and the kind of stuff that they've been doing at their team house in terms of, you know, working on mindfulness and making sure that you're not getting lost in the heat of the moment, making sure that you just reset yourselves mentally and come back into each round on its own, then this would be the time. But what a ridiculous path ahead of them, Immortals. To try and come back from this, 2 straight rounds, they have to win here, and then another 2 maps, and they cannot have any room for error. There is 0 room for error here, and this is a stage that they lost previously.
Just still can't believe that we're talking Immortals here, having to come back from such a deficit against CLG. You know, before this game even begun, we would have easily pinned Immortals to be the victors here, and they're just showing us completely what's what now. Moving in, it's going to be the tank compositions battling it out. Good bio grenade from the side of CLG does put the anti-heal onto all of them, and they are going to trade a few kills. Waffle-tastic popping off, claims 2 kills, hyped in agility, falling, but Grim Reality responds of his own. A little bit of doses of Tracer. I think it is Waffle-tastic who does come out on top in the end. Hydration with a beautiful right click brings down Burbo, and the point is now unlocked.
Oh,
Nomi, that was a pretty decent fire strike, and he has actually bought some time. Yeah, they're trying to go for it.
The interesting thing here is that Immortals have decided to run with a more tanky composition, which is more the style that seems to favor them. It's where they've been historically more comfortable when they've been playing around the tanks. Agilities and Grim Reality on heroes that they're comfortable with as well in the 2-2-2, and it's much more even this first fight. In the end, Immortals coming out with the slightest edge that they've managed to push into it, but what a huge series that Waffle-tastic is having.
He's popping off today. Honestly, I'd pin him down as the MVP this game because he's created so much room for his team. The pulse bombs, everything, turning around at fights time and time again. This Lijiang Tower, it seems quite one-sided, but it honestly could have been, you know, anyone's game, realistically. But Waffle-tastic has just been this edge that's been closer and closer. Now we're going to see the Nano Blade, I believe, popped off indeed onto Agilities, but he's not finding any kills. He's searching for the targets, but he can't quite get onto it. We're going to see Hydration using the whole hog to his fullest advantage, just pushing him all the way back. The point still being contested about 3/4 of the way down so far. Waffle-tastic gets, I should say, Hydration with the hook combo onto Hype, claims that 1 kill, and it should be CLG realistically taking this one. Indeed they do. They flip the point once again, and they've got a few ultimates to use to defend this with. So yeah, they've got Ice Shiny with the Earth Shatter, Waffle-tastic with a Pulse Bomb of his own, and the with a Nano Boost. Wouldn't be surprised if they put this onto Miso to get him his Graviton Surge.
I mean, in hindsight, Agility's going for thee there was a very bad decision because the rest of the tanks just pushed forwards to separate the distance and he couldn't get the dash reset, he didn't even get the pick and was just left stranded, wasted 2 ultimates plus his area bubble onto him. So now they have to re-engage in this fight. Here comes Miso in with a Nano Boost of his own, pops off that Graviton, already caught 2.
Great by Shiny.
Oh, another Graviton comes back into them as well from Hyped, but it's CLG picking up all the actual follow-up as Hydration and Ice Shiny slam their hammers and the scrap gun into them and just take the fight completely. Both teams on 40%.
Wow, Grim Reality. He's still making it work. He's trying to dodge and juke into the back lines. I'll tell you what, this fight was shockingly close for the amount of ultimates that CLG have actually expended. They did not need to use iShiny's Earth Shatter there, but in the final moments now, and look, an Earth Shatter here would have been absolutely perfect to try and recontest it because they haven't even got the cap here. They're still moving in. We see Agilities with the Dragon Blade, moves into the back. Doesn't quite get the kill, but it's going to be the charge from Nomi that brings down iShiny in the end. The hook combo, Agilities finally brings down Miso, and they are looking to recap this. Immortals still trying to put in the work. Hydration pops off the whole hook to try and zone them out to the best of his abilities, but Immortals are really just playing like a concise unit, and they have turned this around fully. Grim Reality still staying alive. Pulse Bombs coming off all over the place. iShiny that was one of the last man standing onto the point, and he's going to be mincemeat to that Pulse Bomb. 600 burst damage is no match for the Reinhardt, and that'll be the recap. So Immortals playing that last engagement, honestly, especially well.
Yeah, they're playing this 2-2-2 way better than the comps that we've seen previously from them. Ultimates aside, the actual bread and butter of how they're playing has been really good, but it's still CLG at 80% here, and if they lose one more fight conclusively, then that's pretty much it. And that's the series and the tournament life of Immortals. And iShiny's Earth Shatter is getting dangerously close to building up here, and that could be a game changer.
Doing it, they pop the Nano Boost onto Miso to try and put in a bit of work. Nomi gets the Earth Shatter off, connects it onto 2, that's pretty big. Does iShiny have it? Indeed he does, he connects it onto 2. That is excellent, that's what CLG needed. They're still moving in Agilities with the Dragon Blade to the back lines, trying to burst down Hydration. He does get it, he's popping off. The Swift Strike ends Waffle-tastic's life, and Immortals, they have a glimmer of hope in the darkness right now with that final fight. It's ticking down, they're on about 90%. There are almost an ultimate up. Waffle-tastic is going to have that Pulse Bomb for next fight, but he needs to go huge again. His team need to rely on Waffle-tastic on the Tracer roll.
They need to go huge
here.
Look,
he moves into the back, he connects it, but he doesn't quite find the kill. The overtime ticking over here, trying to find the fight here. It's a great graviton, I should say, as he connects it onto 2. Grim Reality picks up a 3k to Pulse Bomb with the rest of his clip damage, brings down D, and with the Soundbarriers coming down, the Earth Shatter as well. It's just the final moments of the fight. It's Immortals are going to be able to take a second round. Surely we're not going to see a reverse sweep here.
Oh, the comeback is real, Bren. It's by the skin of their teeth as well,
Insane.
But so far they're digging deep and they've brought it level to 2-2. This final round is going to be huge for them because yes, they still have to reverse sweep the entire series. They're at 2-0 down in the moment, and if they win this round, they'll be down 2-1, and they still have to win the next 2 maps that are coming up. But those maps are kind of a bit more comfortable for them. One of those is Immortals map pick, and the other one is just a random map that favors kind of neither of the teams, and Immortals are going to probably be feeling reasonably good about that. But it all comes down to this round. This is the closest they're going to come to in terms of stealing this victory away, CLG. Or not even stealing it away, they've performed better overall.
They have, yeah. They've performed incredibly well, and this is it. Do or die time for Immortals. The final round of Lijiang Tower. Immortals in blue end up losing this. That will be their tournament life ended.
Totally different composition here, Brent.
Absolutely, they're switching it up. They're going to be going for this more tanky composition. They've got D on Zen and Hydration on the Roadhog, trying to find these hooks if they potentially can. It's going to be Hyped who's taken out of his mech almost immediately. Waffle-tastic is the one to bring that one down, and Hydration finds the kill onto the Baby Diva as well. Now the point's going to get contested, trying not to give them the time, but Immortals do end up actually getting this cap, and iShiny does go down, but it is Waffle-tastic with the big flank around, brings down Agilities, much needed. They're trying to focus down Agilities on the Pharaoh, which is really their weakest point in the previous round when they were playing in this one section of Lijiang Tower, and look at that, CLG, they get the cap, easily done. The thing they need to be careful of now, however, is Affin with the Resurrect, and Reality is dangerously close. I mean, he's been popping off as well. We've been talking about Waffle-tastic a lot on the Tracer, but Grim Reality's been having a hell of a game as well.
Especially in this comeback. I mean, in these last 2 rounds, he's been performing really well.
Yeah.
But at the moment, Immortals are giving them way too much position. And here comes the Dead Eye. See if Waffle-tastic can get anything out of that. Just zoning them out for the moment. Actually, that's going to deny any build-up towards the Resurrect and make sure that it's taken out of this entire fight. But players are still falling here. 3 players down for CLG, and it looks like even without that Mercy Resurrect, Immortals are going to be able to reclaim the point back and forth so far. But that just kind of delays this dangerous ultimate into the next fight.
As soon as they lost those initial two players, you could have almost considered it a lost fight. And yes, Aethan going down wasn't the best scenario for Immortals, but he made the best of it. Didn't even need the Resurrect, so now they've got it for this next fight as well. Plenty of ultimates to use on both sides. We'll see if they can try and... Immortals have got to bring down Mikado before he gets that sound barrier off. Going to be trying to take the fight into the corner here. Finally going to be using it, but there's so many ultimates to use here. It's going to be a flashbang kill onto Verbo in the end. Agilities moves around the flank with the barrage. Quite find the kill he needs. Ivan finally going to be popping off the Resurrect. Self-destruct onto the point, just delays them for a short few sweet seconds. And the cap is about halfway currently to CLG, but again, not looking so good as Immortals are really just slamming home their dominance here.
Well, that's the advantage of the Mercy Resurrect, but now Aethan and Agilities are kind of in a weird position where they probably don't want to be on the Mercy. Like, they were running it assuming it was going to be a mirror composition. This isn't something that Immortals run because they love it. So having used their ultimates, if they had died there in the fight, we might have seen the switch off, but now they're going to kind of be committed to it because Aethan's already nearly 50% ult, so they're going to be sticking to this.
Wow,
Look at that! That's unbelievable coming out from Nomi, and they're just going to get booped off the map. Oh my god, goodbye.
You can't do anything about that. When you hit a 5-man Earth Shatter, what do? They just immediately make the call. All right, guys, we messed up. Come on, jump off the edge, and that is it. They reset it, but God almighty, that was absolutely huge by Numi. If they needed a big play like that, it was now. In the final
90%.
moments, it's 90%. They're moving in. There's ultimates to use here. Are they going to use the Transcendence? They do to try and initiate it in. They need to move their way all the way around. The sound barrier now used on the side of Immortals. Self-destruct going to be used as well. Waffletastic ends up falling for the side of CLG. They're trying to find these kills. They're getting popped off all over the place. Affin does die without the Resurrect, bearing in mind, but they're still digging in deep. Immortals trying to find the opportunities. Shiny with the Primal Rage does collect the kill onto Nomi. Miso with the follow-up as well. They might be able to flip this if they really just try their hardest here. They're finding the kills as Hype is going to go down. Grim Reality is the last pesky problem that's left onto this point. Now Verbo is forced off. The overtime still ticking on, but it will be the reset there. And the point is flipped over to CLG just when they needed it most. What an incredible game we are seeing today all the way. The reverse sweep in this map, that is insane.
Well, they're only 1% away from it, plus some change in overtime, and Aethan's got that Resurrect as well. Oh, Agility's taking so much damage. CLG are not just good at the Fire Mercy, they're also good at dealing with Fire Mercy, probably just because they know what counters their own strat when they try and run it. In comes the Self-Destruct, flinging that one as a Hail Mary, seeing if they can get anything from it. Miso's been playing a deadly diva so far this series as well. Lots of pressure there onto Nomi, as iShiny's got onto the Reinhardt as well, just to try and hold on to this point for as long as they possibly can.
They have the res available on F, and they're going to be using it almost immediately to try and reset this fight. As soon as they got that kill onto Hydration, moving in with the barrage as well. Good sleep down to Agilities, brings him down to an early nap there. Going to be trying to pop off these kills. It's the Earth Shatter from Nomi. It collects him onto 2. Immortals are trying to bring it back. The post-bomb used for good measure. Really, CLG, they've got nothing to try and contest this with. It's all up to the side of Miso to try and contest it for as long as he possibly can. The recap comes out. CLG have got to try and stall this to the best of their abilities. Immortals are so close to coming back. The ultimate reverse sweep. Waffletastic tries play the point. Is one man against the world once again. They move in. The Self-Destruct gets used. iShiny has made his way onto the point. But really, at this point, it's too little, too late, as they are just dropping like flies. One last attempt here by Miso to try and make it work, but really, what can one man do on the Diva? He's going to move up, demech himself again. He's doing an excellent job of stalling, I will be honest, and Hydration does manage to find his way onto the point as the Tracer as well, but Nomi with the Fire Strike will put an end to it, and there you have it. The reverse sweep from Immortals. What a storyline to kick off this second series.
That's unreal. That's just
ridiculous.
By the skin of their teeth, they hold on to it and somehow come back on Li Zhang. The game is not over yet by any stretch of the imagination, because the score is currently 2-1. For both, oh look at this! This was just such a nasty Earth Shatter coming down from Nomi.
Louise.
But what do you do to block that? I mean, like, they have to either put down their the bubble from the Winston immediately as like a preemptive thing, just to go around the corner and try and anticipate that was coming down. Otherwise, you're stuck. Like, you don't have any counter to that. So
I mean, they could have baited it out with B-Boost initiation, but I think when you're that close, because it was 90% at that point. They were probably not thinking about it at all. They probably weren't thinking to check their corners and find out. I mean, obviously, I think it registered to them that Nomi had the Earth Shatter, but for it to just come out swinging like that, that's a huge mental toll as well to take on you. And for Immortals to get that reverse sweep when they're right on the edge of getting knocked out, that is got to be huge for your mental fortitude coming into this next game.
Yeah, for sure. Immortals, they have already done the hard part in a sense by coming back on Lijiang from being 2-0 down on a on a map where they were already 2-0 down in the fixture.
Yes.
Like, they've already showed their own mental fortitude and their ability to get back in the game. It now kind of, for CLG, you feel like it's got to be reasonably easy just to kind of dismiss that one and go like, okay, right, we did our best on that particular map and it almost went our way. We nearly knocked them out 3-0, but like, let's be real, guys, that would have been unbelievable. And we've got another 2 opportunities, so
Yes.
they don't have to get on top of themselves. They don't have to let it get to them, but you gotta think that the possibility for a reverse sweep is definitely here now for Immortals, because we're going on to 2 maps that are both kind of not been picks for CLG. Lijiang Tower was the pick for CLG, so Hollywood Immortals is going to be favored, I think, just the way that they play. And then we're going to go into Temple of Anubis, and if that's going to be the decider in the end, that's going to be just a crazy game.
This is honestly, I don't think anyone was expecting this series to be this entertaining. It is incredible. The gameplay that CLG have shown, the fortitude for, honestly, Immortals to come back from that deficit. Most teams can't do that. It's insane to be able to come back in a reverse sweep when you needed it most. And especially when so many players on CLG were just performing so well. You know, we were talking about Waffletastic. He was hitting off these 2-man pulse bombs, getting kills all over the place, pressuring the team. And then Grim Reality comes out of nowhere and he's like, you know what, kid, step back. Let me show you how it's done. And just turns up time and time again for his team in the final moments. But we are going to be heading into Hollywood as our, you know, it could be our last map. Probably not. I hope it's not. You know, I want Immortals to take us all the way.
But it certainly could be, and CLG will be hoping to close it out here. This is Immortals map pick, as we were talking about before, and this, I think, does favor them as well. This first point is very good for like a triple tank defense. It's also pretty good for throwing a fire in there, but it's actually better at dealing with a Pharah than most maps. I mean, Pharah is certainly possible, but if you are defending with like a triple tank plus a soldier and you get your soldier either around the garbage area or up on the cafe, then you've got a decent chance of shutting down that Pharah pretty quickly. And we saw... See, what do you think it was, Brent? Do you think it was nerves or them just attempting to throw a little bit of a curveball? Because CLG, when it came to the crunch time, didn't use the Pharah.
Yeah, that's one of the more interesting things to me, because I felt like it could have been a mixture of things, to be honest, because I'd like to say it was nerves, but they had a decent response in the first time they were on control center with the tank compositions, and then when they moved into it later on, like when they were running against our Mercy, like Immortals just showing them really how it's the agilities. We mentioned it earlier, like CLG were very good at shutting down Pharah Mercy combos because they play so much of it and they know its weaknesses and its limitations. But Immortals were really hammering home. Like we didn't talk about agilities too much, but because he wasn't being contested, he was laying down damage time and time again and setting up these kills for his team. So yeah, possibly a bit of a misplay there in the final moments where CLG maybe lost their nerve a little bit. Not wanting to pick into the Pharah Mercy, but they are indeed going with... It's going to be the dive on the attack for the side of Immortals, and in this defense it is, again, this tanky composition. Nice Shiny with the initiation, leading into the back into the cafe area, seeing what they can get done. Moving all the way in. It's going to be trying to run each other down. It's going to be Agilities and Grim Reality who claim the first 2 kills. Obviously a mismatch of burst damage that's currently kicking off into the back cafe area. Nobody really contesting the point just yet. Finally, Grim Reality going to be trying to make it work. He uses the recall, but I think it is going to be him falling. Indeed it does, as it's Hydration who brings him down with the left click. So first attack attempt there by Immortals. Not going as well as they had once hoped, but Hollywood's one of those maps where it's quite tough to take it in one fell swoop, so understandable that they didn't get it almost initially.
They looked like they had a decent setup. They had a really a good dive that managed to get in onto a couple of core players at the back. I know a lot of pressure being applied to V on the Zenyatta, but Hydration was kind of left high and dry and wasn't able to get anything. He's now sneaking up and around. Oh, misses the hook onto Aethan there. Going to be peeled as Hyped and Nomi get up onto him. Now they're bringing the fight over to the point area as Hydration just uses this whole hog straight into a Diva Matrix on the other side. But players are getting down here from CLG.
There's a great hook by Hydration to the tail end of that fight, bringing down Agilities. He had his Dragon Blade, so that has potentially turned that fight straight around for them. Still trying to contest it. It's just Hyped on the point. Baby Diva. They're going to stagger him out for as long as possible. A nice Shiny just Goomba stomps on his face. Brings an end to his misery. So Ultimates across the board. You've got the Dragon Blade on Immortals. As long as the Transcendence, you could initiate with that quite easily, along with the Self-Destruct as well. Needs to be said. However, they're going to be going up against the Sound Barrier. They're going to be going up against 2 support ults. So not only the Sound Barrier, but also the Transcendence. And they've got Aishen over Primal Rage just to contest the point even further. So it's going to be a really, really tough ask, I think, for Immortals here.
Yeah, they have to put pressure onto these supports and try and trade for 1 in terms of the support ults, and then they'll have it better for the next time. So Aethan goes in. V replies, so both Transcendences being used. If they can put pressure on Mikado, now would be the perfect time. And they do, so the support ultimate comes out. And we'll see whether they decide to invest more. The Dragon Blade didn't really get much from it, and Aethan's actually the first to fall in terms of actual casualties in this fight. So now would be a good time, I think, just to disengage for the rest of Immortals. See what more you can just carry out in a dry push, and then re-engage with the Sound Barrier afterwards. But for now, CLG are shredding them.
Yeah, that's really well played by CLG. They completely waited for iShiny. He took the brunt of the damage on the point. He was in his Primal Rage form, 1000 HP, just roaming around the point, knocking people all over the place, ruining the positioning of Immortals, and the rest of his team could just, regain their senses, regroup, and then re-push, and that's exactly what they did with Hydration's whole hog, cleaning up the point, push the players back. Now we're seeing a bit of a different attempt here. It's going to be the push right around the flank here. That's going to be called out. So Immortals are not going to be able to get the sneaky maneuver they might have been hoping for, and it's interesting positioning. They're moving in with the Sound Barrier, trying to initiate them in, trying to take the fight into this small little cafe area, but the fight is thoroughly going into the favor right now of the side of CLG. They've already lost 2 of their players. Nomi is on an absolute mad one, finding all of these kills. Hydration goes for the hook, but can't quite get the kill onto Nomi like he hoped. And, well, there we have it. It will be the point skipping over to the side of Immortals.
Yeah, and in the end, it just came down to a good dive initiation. Like, they just had to execute properly. There was nothing really different that they did there. It wasn't a different player that they particularly focused. They went forwards with Nomi and Hyped, peeled a little bit for their supports with Hyped at the end, and now they're trying to get a lot of position on this high ground of the saloon and the bank. In comes the self-destruct. See if they can knock players off the high ground. That's not going to find anybody, though.
Very close. They are still searching for the opportunities. They have ultimates available to them. Agility's got the Dragon Blade. Not going to be using it just yet, though. He's going to Swift Strike away to get out of the fray. And they have actually made the switch, so Hydration and D on the Farah Mercy this time for this second section. I do agree with this, and Hydration could be pumping in the damage into these rockets. Mikado finds the kill to Grim Reality as well. Grim Reality puts LOL in the chat. I don't think he was expecting to die to the Lucio there. But it is going to be, once again, Immortals just really look like they're taking this fight by storm. There's a few stray players from the side of CLG just trying to hold on to this for now. They've got iShiny into the back, just maneuvering his way around. Has forced out the Primal Rage onto Nomi, so they have got a few ultimates out of it. But I think this will be, once again, another one fight as Waffletastic is going to meet his maker. And they're going to slowly but surely try and push this through the streets phase. Verbo waiting patiently on the payload, just guarding it, sending out a tweet or 2.
And Mikado was going to use his Sound Barrier there and got picked before he could use it. So they were going to commit to that fight and just try and delay for as long as they can. So this is a real stall tactic coming out here from the side of CLG as well, just throwing as many ults as they can into this one. Sound Barrier popped out at the same time as the Transcendence from Immortals. Verbo dies on 99% Sound Barrier, so he doesn't have that to commit to the fight. And they're finding the picks on both of the support lines here. CLG really working this dive pretty well, actually. They're finding the key targets every time, and the Resurrect comes through just to ensure they win the fight. Yeah, really nicely there. D going to be moving in. Even though they lost all of their players, they just didn't take down D on the Mercy. That's a 2-man kill with the self-destruct from Hype, Waffletastic, and Hydration. And they do not have a Resurrect to try and bring those players back up. If you ever needed a turning point for that fight, because that was looking firmly swung right around, a complete 180 with that Resurrect. And just when you think it's all over, Hyped comes in with the self-destruct, claims those 2 kills, and now just the momentum is just fully in the favor right now of Immortals, moving all the way in. They've got a Sound Barrier to work with as well. Grim Reality's almost got his Pulse Bomb to utilize it with. Going to contest the high ground now. Miso's going to get forced back a little bit. Sound Barrier gets used as well. Verbo got knocked around a little bit there, but it is finally going to be popped off here before they can really try and get it out. The barrage popped off here by Hydration as well. Doesn't quite find the kills he needs. Still a good contention so far by the side of CLG. He's in a bit of trouble. Going to get assaulted on there by the burst damage of the side of Agilities. Agilities now has his Dragon Blade if he wants to pop it off. Indeed he will, using it to its full potential. Swift Strike up into the air. Can't quite claim the kill onto Hydration like he was hoping. But now it's got to the point where
Immortals are at a bit of a disadvantage because their spawners are actually quite far away from where the defenders are. So defending around this checkpoint can be absolutely disastrous. And with the overtime ticking over here, Sideshow, I think it's almost going to be too little too late. But they are finding the picks. Let's see if he can build up that res. He's so close to it. He's desperately trying to find it. He can't quite do it. Surely not. If Immortals actually managed to get this cap, Waffletastic is trying his hardest to contest it to as long as he possibly can. But there you go. It will be the cap. And that is... Honestly, I'm quite impressed by the way Immortals played that.
Yeah, they managed to get a really good position in there. The one thing that they kind of threw away was the Dragon Blade on agilities. He was looking for the pick onto hydration when he really could have used it on the rest of the guys just on the ground and held to clean up and just leave the fire until later, but instead tries to use it, and you really have to execute that one perfectly, otherwise he's just going to fly away. And that's exactly what hydration did. He just baits out the distance, swift strike up to him, but he can't finish the kill. And now they've made some switch-ups on both sides, so Nomi's going over to the Reinhardt to give them a bit more of a safe zone in this tunnel towards the end. Self-destruct comes in as Mikado pops off his sound barrier. Both self-destructs actually. But Immortals have still got a support ult to work with if they want to commit to this one. But with Nomi down, I don't think they will.
It's a difficult fight for them to take. He ends up falling. He didn't have a tranquility, but it's still not a bad pick at the end of the day for them. Still, this fight's popping off from either side. And it's going to be the defense here by CLG. They finally get a bit of a foothold, but right now it is the side of Immortals. They're not slowing down in the slightest. They want to take this full momentum all the way in. They've got a Transcendence. They've got the sound barrier. Agilities is close to the Dragon Blade, only about 25% away.
But only 15 seconds. Build it.
That is also correct. Only 15 seconds on the clock, so really they've got to try and utilize it as a hook. Comes out onto Hyped, forces out the sound barrier. Now we're going to see the whole hog used. Meanwhile, Agility's in the back line with the Dragon Blade. He's found one kill onto Mikado. Is he going to be able to claim any more? It's actually Grim Reality with the combo of Agilities. They're running this all the way in. It's a 6-man wipe. We didn't hold the bell ring, but they are really showing no signs of slowing down whatsoever. And Nomi has the Earth Shatter if he needs it to try and clear them off into this final point. I gotta say, it is looking almost like curtains for the side of CLG right now. And there you have it. Didn't even need to use the Earth Shatter in the final moments. They're just going to push it all the way in. A bit more close than I think they were anticipating. They didn't actually get a decent time. They ended up pushing it in the overtime, but still, really well played to the side of Immortals there.
It also could have been closer if they hadn't made the swaps off at the end. I think that,
yeah,
like they set themselves up for somewhat of a role. I know that CLG are liking these two alternate comps. In that one of them is the Pharah Mercy Tracer Diva Winston, and the other one is where they have their McCree and the Roadhog kind of playing with whatever tank they happen to have active at the time. But in that final area, neither of them were really able to get much value out of the swaps, and they were playing a little too aggressively. Like it's fine to try and play aggressively if you know that you're going to get another fight when you spawn, but they were playing aggressively and then they wiped and they didn't even spawn by the time they were able to get it across the line. So you've got to space out those fights a little better, I think, and they were playing aggressively into the side of Immortals when they've got ultimates active and they've got nothing to reply with. So putting themselves on the line a little bit there when it felt like with the time remaining, they definitely should have been able to score for a lot longer if they played it more passively.
What are your thoughts right now on the tank compositions that's being run here by Immortals when you know there's a high likelihood of the Pharah Mercy coming out to play on the attacking side of CLG? So, I mean, I would have thought that's almost an unfavorable matchup to them, but they seem to be going with it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that bad because you can play from inside the cafe, and Agilities could play even inside the staircase and avoid the Pharah Mercy completely and still be able to find individual picks. And Grim Reality, right, if they pocket him, he's going to be able probably to apply quite a bit of pressure onto Hydration in there. But you're right in that if they give up position and then they end up just getting sandwiched out in a choke point where Hydration's spamming rockets, they're not in a great position to re-engage. And they don't have a Diva to try and deal with it either. They've gone for the Zarya instead, so... this first fight has to go the way of Immortals, and they have to start building up some ultimates. But it's going to be a battle of positioning, I think.
Well, we will soon see if they manage to take it. High ground is going to be initiated on here by CLG. Shiny just taking the positionings. Hydration making movements. He's actually found a little perch up there. Trying to rain down these rockets wherever possible. Nomi going to be charging away back into the cafe area. They want to be trying to take a fight there. That is a great hook coming out by Agilities. Doesn't quite claim the kill into Hydration like he had hoped. Point is going to get contested. Still not one tick on the side of CLG, but they're forcing this tank composition of Immortals back into the cafe. Another great hook. Doesn't actually quite get connected. Waffletastic finding the kills. He claims a second one onto Nomi. These tanks are getting absolutely torn to shreds. in the midst of all this. Fire Grenade is going to kill Ice Shiny off. And still, the point being capped up. 2 ticks already for them. Pulse Bomb gets knocked back. Waffletastic claiming that one onto Verbo. It's going to be the Nano Boost used onto the side of Grim Reality as a final moment. I think that was a last-ditch effort, really, to try and get that get the point back under their control.
Clutch. That tempo nano boost that comes in onto Grim Reality, they made the
changed it all.
Complete correct decision there to try and use that just as soon as Ethan got it, because Agilities really wasn't hitting enough hooks to be able to justify the pick. And also, whenever he did hook someone in, Miso's just peeling for him, just throws out the defense matrix and eating the bullets as soon as they come out of his gun. So there's nothing you can do against that, and they just sandwich them inside Cafe. So they need to have a similar performance, but this time with Grim Reality's tactical visor and perhaps a couple more hooks.
Look at that. Barrage comes out with the damage boost from Hydration, trying to find it. Attack Visor is used by Grim Reality. Doesn't quite claim too many kills. Agilities moves forward with the whole hog. Going to force out the sound barriers on the side of CLG as they're still trying to take the fight, but it is a better sound barrier at that. By Immortals, they look to try and stagger out this fight even longer and even further forward. One thing to note, D still holding on to that Resurrect for now, just waiting for the rest of his team to kind of fall. He might go for the res now, indeed he does. It's going to be, I believe, a 3-man Resurrect in the midst of all this, and the fight looks like it's going to the way of the side of CLG, or Immortals, I should say. Graviton Surge gets committed, but they can't quite find the rest of these kills, and they're going to finish it off with the Nano Boost onto Nomi, just to clean up the rest of those stragglers.
That's a big engagement, though, actually, because they won that fight as soon as they committed the Graviton to it, and they were intended to switch over to the D anyway, it looked like, which I think overall is a better choice. But then they decided to use Ethan's Nano Boost onto Nomi just to clean up. I think it was like one guy that was left, so a slight miscommunication or overestimation of how many ultimates they had to involve in that one, but thankfully there's not really a reply for now from CLG, and Immortals are holding strong.
CLG trying to move in, once again initiating with the Ice Shiny on the Winston. Hydration in the back, raining down a damage boosted rocket. It's going to be Nomi as the first casualty. He does end up falling to Waffletastics. He's going to shred him down with the 2 guns he is holding, still trying to work their way onto the point. Hydration with the rocket barrage, claims 1 kill with a normal rocket onto Ethan and finishes it up with Grim Reality as well. And I think this will finally be the turning point. There's no Resurrect to turn the tide and tempo of this fight. They are going to be able to get this first cap. It's looking a bit too close for comfort there, I think, for CLG, but no, they found a light in the end of the day. And look at that, the amount of ultimates that CLG use or have here to work with. They've got a res, they've got a self-destruct, almost got a sound barrier as well. Ice Shiny is close to his primal rage, looking very winnable in these I guess the high noon section of Hollywood, if you like.
Yeah, they definitely have the advantage into the ultimates, but it's going to be difficult for them to get in position to actually use them, because they have a composition that's really on the low ground, and the Winston barrier from Ice Shiny, he blocks it!
What in God's name is that? That's a free K with the self-destruct. Miso follows it up with a kill of his own onto Nomi. You do not see that every day. That is ridiculous, and it was all off the back because of Nomi being too far forward, trying to get the Earth Shatter off. They didn't have his shield to hide behind. That is crucial. Just when you were trying to make me look silly, saying CLG weren't going to win it, they turned it around with laugh.
Yeah, I mean, CLG are looking in a great position now. With those 3 picks, they can really start to chain things forward, because Grim Reality's Nano Visor as well is not going to be in a good position to use it. Like, he can't even get on an elevator onto the high ground, really, and try and use it onto Hydration or the. Like, he's going to have so much difficulty getting value out of this pick, I think.
Moving forward, Bomb's committed. They still have a lot of ults on the side of the Immortals. Moving forward as well, the Self-Destruct gets committed into the back lines, trying to pop off a few players or 2. Going to be the Resurrect used ultimately now as they're moving into the tail end of this fight. They're trying to reset it up on the side of CLG. Going to bring down these players if they can. It's going to be a few trades here and there, but Immortals are looking pretty strong so far on the defense. They've got a good grasp on the situation, but they just can't really contest this high ground. That's what Hype's there for. Moves forward with the Diva, searches for an opportunity or 2, but he is going to go down in the end. In fact, Hype actually, I think, ended up killing Miso there with his suit cooldown. Funnily enough, Hydration still, they've got nothing to take care of his damage boosted rockets, and this is becoming a real problem for them as he just claims and kills basically the stragglers in the tail end of this fight. Immortals are in a bit of a sticky situation now. A bit of time built up behind them on the side of CLG. They're going to be working basically against the current here, as they have no time. They do have 3 points scored on the board here for Immortals, but no time to work with whatsoever. So if CLG end up getting time, it could work heavily against them.
Yeah, if they get over a minute on the clock, then Immortals don't even get an attempt to attack point A, so that's if they can bleed a minute and a half off, they're in decent territory. And if they can bleed 2.5 minutes off, then that's fantastic for them. Remind you that Immortals are facing down the barrel of elimination from the tournament in the quarterfinals, which would be crazy for this team. So they have to come together now. Nomi again playing so aggressively forwards. Misa comes around the back and actually gets a little boot forwards. They're not going to be able to find value with that Earth Shatter as well, so Nomi's kind of been outplayed there.
Nice Shiny playing the Shield Wars especially well. Gets the block where it mattered. Ricardo brings down Agilities as well. In the tail end of this fight, that's one DPS player down. Hydration, however, is going to fall to height, but they are certainly fighting back. They've got the ultimates to work with, but the longer they take this now, Immortals, the more spawners are going to be coming up for them. They're still trying to take this fight to the best of their abilities, but it's basically taking a 6v3 as it stands because the respawners are definitely coming up for Immortals right now. I think that you need to disengage, and that's exactly the call that's going to be made here. Miso tries to get out of there. Indeed he will. Just boost himself away, and it will be the reset, but they're up against quite a tough ass, to be honest, on the side of CLG. They're going to be going up against the Nano Boost and the Sound Barrier. Grim Reality is very close to his attack visor, so if this fight gets drawn out long enough, they could be coming up against the Nano Visor.
This is good position to try and just completely stall out the map from Immortals. If they play these ultimates correctly, you know, they need to get in a bit of a decent position with Nomi and iShiny and then see if Grim can get out. But Nomi immediately hooked in and Waffletastic picks off that one. Hyped with a kill though, so both Reinhardts have been traded for either team. Sound Barrier for one, but Verbo's already used his, so he doesn't have anything to reply with. Grim Reality though, Nano Visor from the top, see if he can get any value out of this, but Miso's eating it all.
That's honestly insane. Miso with the Diva pick, using that defense matrix, really just holding down that right click, I think, as hard as he possibly can to avoid that Nano Boost or the Nano Visor. Still, it's the tail end of this fight, and Immortals are getting a respawn again. What an Earth Shatter! Connects onto 3. Can they find the kills? Grim Reality's in a bit of trouble. Has to work his way around here. Agilities is still on the point as the Tracer. This could be signs of life for them. The DMEC comes out. Hydration gets the hook combo onto Hyped once again. Still trying to fight this to the bitter end. Really realistically trying to do it. My God. Nomi now, this is so desperate now for CLG because there's only a few seconds left, 12 remaining. It's going to be popping off that whole hog on the side of Hydration, pushing them back to the best of his abilities. Nomi has the Earth Shatter. He might just lead it in hard, tries to connect it, only gets it onto one, which is Miso, but they have nobody to try and contest in the final moments. The overtime will tick down. Surely they're not going to be able to do this now. Immortals, they found 2 kills. The Nano Boost is going to get popped off as well onto Nomi. He defends it well. The shield is raised. The self-destruct is going to do absolutely naught. And I think the cherry on top is that tactical visor by Grim Reality is going to clear them off that point, and I cannot believe it. Immortals have taken a second map. They've brought it all the way back. Is this truly going to be the reverse sweep we're seeing?
The reverse sweep of all reverse sweeps would be happening right here. I mean, not in terms of the caliber of opponent they're playing against, possibly, because, you know, coming into this, you would have expected Immortals to have the better end of it, but CLG have really stepped up, and they came off really fast with their 2-0 victory, especially on Numbani, completely shutting them out. And they've looked competitive so far on these next 2 maps. Like, it's been really
This is that free, man. Like, look at this, and it was all off the back of Nomi just going in with the Earth Shatter. His team didn't have the shields. That's insane.
If he'd got the Earth Shatter off as well, then Miso would have been knocked down and not able to launch it off. But iShiny came down with that crucial instant. Yeah, I mean, it's a game of inches at times, isn't it? It's really tiny little things that are going to swing a fight one way or the other, but that's a comeback and a half from Immortals so far. Can they do it on the final map, though? Temple of Anubis is going to be the map, the arena, the showdown. That's going to be an interesting one. Neither team picked it. It was left in the map pool and then randomed out of the 4 remaining. So in terms of how it fits either team as well, you know, it's a bit of a toss-up. I've seen CLG do very well on Temple of Anubis, actually, but when we've been seeing like more defensible maps, Immortals has had the edge in terms of their tank play, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if it really comes down to that, when it comes to the compositions being used, if Immortals are playing a much better tank sort of composition, they're really going to be in the driving seat for this next match, which Temple of Anubis could be anyone's game realistically. I know, from one thing I've seen is that assault maps in general aren't played particularly, I don't want to say well, because that's not really giving the NA teams enough credit. But
put your opinions out there. Don't hold
back.
What
I'm trying to say is NA's bad, and I'm about to get assaulted on Twitter. No, it's not. I'm joking. But Korea do seem to play assault maps to like really the fullest extent that they can be played in, and NA teams don't really seem to understand, you know, a lot of the ways to play around these maps and the high ground advantages and things. Whether that's because they don't practice it enough, I don't know. But this is going to be an interesting game nonetheless because of just that wildcard factor coming into Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of when we've actually seen Korean teams playing against the North American teams at Apex, or even the Europeans at Apex. I mean, but I think it's more actually just something that the Koreans excel at. I think they put a bit more thought into how they want to directly execute different compositions and pushes, rather than it just being like the North American teams just turning up and like YOLOing it or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case, but I think that there is definitely a level of understanding and like strategy that you have to apply to 2CP to really get the fullest extent out of it. Like they're kind of maps that in one sense you get out what you put in terms of you're going to have, broadly speaking, an advantage over a team if you really understand the flow of a map and the way to transition your momentum forwards. But at the same time, there is a lot of variance in how they play, like one bad fight and some snowbally ults, and suddenly, although you're a team that put in a lot of prep, you're suddenly in a really bad situation and you could genuinely lose it. So there's both sides to that kind of coin. But I've certainly seen, I mean, a game of CLG versus Selfless springs to mind when they were playing on Temple of Anubis, and CLG were running the same kind of composition where they were in the Pharah Mercy Tracer, and CLG were running a defensive Sombra in that instance, and that worked out really well. So I'm interested to see, like, that's something that the NA teams have flirted with in the past, has been the Sombra, but I don't think I've seen either of these two teams play it. I could be wrong, but nothing springs to mind in terms of Sombra play from these two guys.
Well, I mean, what are you expecting from these teams then? Are you expecting, I guess, Immortals to stick more close to the tanky and CLG just to pull out all the stops with the Pharah Mercy? Because Temple of Anubis is a map that you do see quite a bit of Pharah play on, even from teams that aren't too accustomed with it, because it favors it. There's a lot of high ground and pillars in the way that you can dodge and weave in, duck and weave on the Pharah to just stay alive for long periods of time. So it's one of the maps that I would say does favor it quite a lot. I'd imagine we would see the similar compositions like that the teams would just stick with their bread and butter. But from what we've seen in the past, especially Lijiang Tower towards the tail end of that, when CLG were running like tanky compositions instead of the Pharah Mercy, who knows, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they really have only showed two comps so far, so as we get ourselves into Anubis, this is going to be the final map of the series, and what a series it's been so far. Immortals coming back from 2-0 down, a 2-0 that nobody was expecting them to be sat at the beginning of the third map, and then 2-0 down in the third map on Lijiang Tower, and somehow they managed to claw their way out of that with several overtimes, and then put CLG to bed on Hollywood to begin a fresh dawn. It's a fresh day. It's a best of one, essentially, to decide this map, to decide the series, sorry, on Temple of Anubis. In terms of compositions, I think I would definitely like to see CLG stick to their Pharah Mercy. It's been, that's when they've looked at their best. That other comp had its moments, but the Pharah Mercy's definitely been better. As for Immortals, I think they've got the flexibility to be able to play like dive on attack and more tanks on defense and make that work for themselves.
So the composition that I think is going to be ran here by the side of Immortals on the defense, I was a bit worried that they wouldn't have anything to take care of hydration, but now that I see that Hyped is on the Winston and they've also got Grim Reality as sort of that anti-air denial, I don't think they're going to be having too much problems with hydration on Pharah, assuming he chooses to run that. But it's going to be a case of how much effort do you really, or how much attention do you put on this one player? How much space do you really want to give him at the end of the day? Because if you start focusing all your attention onto hydration, the rest of your team's just going to get battered on the ground battle. So it's going to be interesting. The countdown is ticking. The gates are about to open.
I think I'm a little bit confused as to why they've gone with Hyped on the Winston rather than the D.Va, though. I don't really understand that, given that they know the composition that's going to be run into them and the fact that they're going to be facing a D.Va themselves. But we'll see what Hyped's able to do.
Absolutely. Hydration moving forward with the damage boosted. Rockets has spotted Hyped. Forces him back off the ledge for now. Working forward. Still moving even further in. Trying to see if they can find an opening or two. They're going to be trying to jump onto hydration, bring him down, but he's going to get healed up by D. Keeping him nice and tip-top shape. Grim Reality claims the first blood, however. Waffletastic ends up going down to the Helix Rocket. It's a mixture of kills, but I think it is ultimately looking like it's being favored currently for the side of Immortals on this defense. They're trying their hardest, but still nothing to take care of the hydration sort of Pharah Mercy combo, and he's just raining down these absolute devastating rockets. Finding any options here. Nomi is the last man standing on this point, and hydration is just slamming down in these choke points with these rockets. Nomi's going to be a late death as well. This will be the cap for them, and I think really there's not really any chance of getting contested here with that late death Nathan as well.
That should have gone much better for Immortals, I feel. They played the positioning really well. They played inside the rooms instead of straying onto the point. The Agilities was putting out a huge amount of damage once they actually got in there, alongside Nomi as well. Hyped really didn't do that much. Like, I feel like the Winston pick's still a little bit questionable. But then as soon as they tried to recontest the point, Agilities just poked his head out and instantly got slammed. And from there, Hydration was just able to pick off individual targets to poke their head out. And then now they're in a pretty bad position where there's a lot of ult here, potential for a snowball.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to really be careful with this. Hydration moves in with a barrage, claims Grim Reality, but D died at the start of the fight. That is exactly what Immortals needed to avoid getting basically snowballed with the Resurrect following up from it. But it didn't even need it. They're finding the kills regardless. They've got the ultimates to do so. D is now basically respawned up and he's coming back into the tail end of this fight. If Miso manages to stall long enough, and with Waffletastic by his side, they are finding the opportunities there. D can move in, especially now he's coming in, just running in, and I think he has chosen to back off instead of moving in with the res. Indeed, yeah, they're going to reset this fight, so not looking to take it the full way, as the players are actually going to respawn on their own accord here. Still, a lot of ultimates on the side of Immortals here. They've got a nano boost, they've got a sound barrier, and Hyped has his primal rage, so there's definitely potential to stall this off.
They held off the most dangerous part of this map already, really, by getting that early pick onto the, because as soon as you get that pick, I mean, they don't have the Resurrect, which was their most pivotal ultimate to try and snowball that forward. That pick on Agilities is going to be a little bit crucial, though. On the Soldier 76, Verbo's already taken down as well. He tried to pop off that sound barrier, but isn't going to be able to, and the res is going to come in. They've also got the sound barrier to chain into it.
This is going to be beautiful for them. They've got very, very high HP pulls here. They're finishing off the stragglers. They're getting the point off it. It's getting contested by Agilities, but he's going to get absolutely destroyed on that Sombra roll. Just trying to stagger out for as long as he possibly can. Now they're going to be moving in. The sound barrier comes in. It's a nano boost popped off onto Grim Reality as well. He's got some big shoes to fill right now on that Tracer roll. Needs to be hitting all of his shots off, but he's just not quite getting the impact I think they needed. It's already gone to a second tick now in his final second point here. For the CLG moving even further forward in. It looks like it's slowly but surely is slowly changing the tide of the battle, but with those final kills, Agility falling to the self-destruct. Still being contested, mind you, but not nearly, I think, is enough. And they are fully in stall mode right now. See Aethan on the May. He's going to go down pretty quickly. The cap is going their way. One last effort of trying to contest this. Hype has managed to waddle his way onto the point on the Winston. Just trying to play the corner to the best of his abilities. But CLG are just working around his cooldown so well. Not letting anyone really get past them. And with that, one final attempt. They've just switched to May again. This is unreal stall tactics coming out. You only really see it to this extent in the Apex games. They're just trying their hardest. Is this going to be it? Is indeed. They do get the second point with 4 minutes on the clock. So really well played to CLG there, to be honest. They actually knew exactly who to target down. But Immortals, there was opportunity there for them to stall out almost completely.
Yeah, the problem is, although they were decent on the stall tactics, and I mean they were decent, they didn't manage to flip it over. So it's not like they were they were incredible and managed to pull out something godly. But when they got over, like the fight essentially though was lost or had already gone incredibly badly right off the engage. Like as soon as Agilities and Verbo die, and they're just picked off kind of at will from CLG. It was
odd because it was it Grim Reality on the Soldier 76 who got picked?
No,
it was
Agilities,
Agilities, right? Yeah, Agilities was on the basically the right-hand side, and he had nobody with him, and the call wasn't made that they were engaging on the right-hand side, even though they had, I believe, it might have been Waffletastic, who was basically followed up with Ice Shiny, and they just dived onto him, and because of his positioning and the call wasn't made that they were going to be moving in on him, he was just basically an open target, and as soon as that first pick rolled in, just the rest of the fight just came following suit, so yeah, it was... There's a bit of a misplay there on the side of Agilities with the positioning, but now it's going to be swapped around. The positions have turned, the tables have turned, so to speak, and they're going to be swapping around the attacks and defense.
It's really crucial having the Mercy Resurrect up as well there, and they didn't manage to get the early pick onto D, so that fight went badly from multiple different angles right at the beginning. I mean, Verbo also tried to use his sound barrier to keep players alive after Agilities had died and was already on top of a pillar and died before he hit the ground, so he couldn't pop off his sound barrier. They had one to reply with, that probably would trigger it out of Mikado and maybe giving them more opportunity to kill the Mercy, because you kind of want that coming in at the beginning of the fight so that you can use the sound barrier afterwards, just to avoid anything going wrong. But the pressure is now on Immortals. They have to deliver. They need 2 points here within their 4 minutes. And CLG was so quick that they still have 4 minutes and 6 seconds on the clock.
Very difficult game for Immortals to try and pull out now. Here's them on the attack. Moving in,
Whoa.
that's a great combo. Waffletastic did not stand a chance. The call was made, the damage was there. Agilities moves in with the Swift Strike combo, brings him down without an inch. And now they're moving even further forward in. Nomi brings down Ice Shiny. These are two big pickoffs. Make it a third as Mikado falls. I think it's pretty much curtains on the get-go. There's no way they're going to be able to stagger out this one. And it was all off the back of that initial Waffletastics pick.
Agilities is on fire right now. He has been destroying them. The focus calls between him and Nomi have been more on point in that single fight than they were in the whole of the rest of Immortals playing dive. And Hype was doing his job as well, playing really aggressively, just taking the pressure from the rest of the team as he goes straight into hydration. Yeah, he's 81% already, and they've got 7 minutes.
That's ridiculous. It's honestly filthy. And now he actually has the Dragon Blade. He's about 3% away. All he's got to do is get a bit more spam damage. They have put a bit of damage into Verbo into the back, but this is 100% a great opportunity now if they move in off the back of this. D is about 50% away from his Resurrect, so now they're going to be taking the initiation in, trying to focus down the right-hand side. Agility moves in with the Dragon Blade, not quite finding the kills he's after. Finally going to be bringing down Hydration with the Swift Strike, brings down D as well. Hyped brings down Ice Shiny. This is looking excellent now for Immortals. They're getting the cap, but now it is fully into stall mode, I believe. Forward side of CLG, the sound barrier is popped off by Immortals. Stagger out the fight, keep it going for as long as they possibly can. Waffletastic is on the point, putting in a decent amount of work, just trying to get them off it. They haven't even actually got one tick just yet, and Hydration is making moves now into the game. He's putting off the barrage as well with those rockets. That's a 2k for him, but it's a two-man kill with the self-drug from Hype. Is this actually still going to be turnable for them? D actually ended up dying there, so there's no Resurrect. They find another one, but I think with the spawns being so close here for CLG, this will be their defense to take.
Oh, that was so close. That felt like it should have been an excellent initiation from Immortals, but D and Hydration come back in, and they didn't really have anybody closing off the door. Like, Hyped is just kind of sat around this high ground, wondering who he should be going for, and only really realized that D and Hydration were out when they walked into his face, and he wasn't taking the same amount of pressure off of them, and Hydration was just able to get so many kills there in the cleanup. So they've made some switches. They've put Hyped over to the Zarya now. Nomi's still on the Winston, and that gives them the opportunity, the win condition of that Graviton Surge as well, to pair things with. And Ethan, again, is now going to have the Nano Blade to work with as well.
Interesting. They are not quite close to it just yet. They don't have the Nano Boost. Agilities is, again, close to his Dragon Blade. They're going to be moving into the back. It's a Pulse Bomb. Look at that. Grimreality actually ends up killing himself with his own Pulse Bomb, but they're finding the kills. 100% Immortals have immediately collected 2 of them. That's going to force out the Resurrect now from CLG. A bit of a reset coming into this fight. Self-Destruct popped off. Going to be keeping them off the point, and they can just find these kills as their positioning is forced outside of Immortals' favor. And indeed, that's exactly what they're going to be doing. He might even be able to bring down Agilities towards the tail end of that fight. Not a bad push by Immortals because they did manage to force out the res, but I mean,
look how fast it's
quickly.
building.
Yeah, that's what I mean. With how quickly Resurrect builds, it's already on 40%. So was that really even that good of a fight?
I mean, it kind of makes sense from a theoretical point of view. You want to be able to force out the Resurrect and repush within your next fight, but they didn't have the Graviton or the Nano Blade ready for this next fight, and so it's kind of wasted anyway. You want to be able and ready to engage immediately after popping out the Resurrect. And instead, Grim Reality, the first casualty again on this fight. Thankfully, this time it wasn't by his own hand, but Hydration plowing a rocket into his head. They're surely going to wait for him before they engage here, and he's actually switching over to the Roadhog as well.
One thing I'm interested in is, are they going to be using the Nano Blade, which is I think 90% of the time the best option, or are they going to try and put it on Hype to build up that Graviton Surge? Because Agilities can... They have support ultimates to force out with the Dragon Blade. They need to use a Nano Boost with it in conjunction. Let's see what they do. Agilities moves in. He forces out the Nano Boost, and they are going to use the Nano Boost onto him in the final moments here. Trying to bring them down. Agilities just swinging and missing. Not quite finding the targets they need. Nobody has died just yet. D almost has the Resurrection available to him. He needs to try and stay alive in the final moments of this fight, but he ends up going down to Agilities. This is a great attempt now by Immortals into the final moments here. Waffletastic is trying to hold on to the point on the traces, zipping, zooming, and diving around this final point. Working his magic. Waffletastic gets one. Agilities with the Swift Strike reset. Doesn't manage to bring down Miso, but he will end up falling. So it's again another defense on by the side of CLG. They're pulling out all the stops.
Agilities has got a one-track mind, man. As soon as he gets his Dragon Blade up, we've seen this like the last 5 times he's had this ultimate. He just goes straight for the Pharah Mercy combo, where unless you execute that perfectly, you're not going to be able to get it, because it's so difficult to get the blade onto them if you lose your Swift Strike, and you have to Swift Strike up to them to begin the engagement anyway. He should be going on to like either one of the tanks or the Lucio, and then if he manages to find like a chain that he can then carry on into the Hydration, then fair dues. Oh, the is so low here though, bro.
He needs to walk around this. He might actually opt to use the res pretty early, but no. He's going to hold onto it for now. Immortals leading in the charge. They can pick up a kill onto the Diva. Hydration ends up bringing down agilities, though. Post bomb by Waffletastic has brought down Hyped, and that is going to be, I think, the end of that fight. It's going to be a tempo res just to keep the ball rolling for CLG on this defense. They might be able to actually, yeah, indeed they will defend this perfectly fine. Grim Reality is going to be trying to get his way out of there. He blinks just in the nick of time. Does find his quick exit out with the rest of his team. Interestingly enough, though, this is where it all matters now. Hyped is the man to watch with this Graviton Surge. You want to be paying close attention to this, because if this gets ate by the Diva roll, it's not only us that are going to get berated by the chat, but also the team.
Yeah, I mean, he has to deliver with this one. This is what they've been working for the last 3 fights. They were hoping that they had another ultimate to work it with as well, and I guess they do in the sense that they've got that the Earth Shatter as well, but he hasn't found a decent position to get this into. He's taken so much damage.
Yeah, his team immediately lost 2 players off the back of that. It was a wonderful... I mean, Nomi tried to lead in with the Earth Shatter. It just didn't work at all for them. They lost so many players so quickly from... I think it was a barrage from Hydration. Just popped it off and cleaned them up easily enough. But now is the second attempt. Hyped again. He's got an opportunity. He's got a lot of... basically responsibilities on his shoulders, because this could be just won or lost, and time is running out. There's a minute 30 on the clock now for Immortals. It's do or die time. They brought it back this far. Surely not going to let it end in its steps right now. This is honestly going to be going the full way, I feel like.
Well, we'll see now as he moves in with this Graviton around the right-hand side. Jumping up, self-destruct that he has to dodge as well. Nomi tries to block that one, does manage to get it, but he's down to 100 health. 74 puts shield onto himself and knocks it down. It hasn't been easy. So there's the first step already. See if there's a follow-up. Nomi with a nano boost. And they've got the whole hog into it, and they are finding all of these kills. Pulse Bomb comes out, but it's only iShiny left, and he is on
he has
the
a res. And they're going to stall it up. This is exactly what they needed to do here. D also has the Resurrect to use to try and turn this fight around on the defense side here. They're losing a few players here and there. D is carefully hiding, waiting for the time to go in, and there's the Resurrect. It's going to be a reset. Full 6 men. Sandbarrier gets popped off by Immortals here. They want to try and take this in one fell swoop. Nomi also has the Earth Shatter. He's just about got it up, but the players are just falling like flies on the side of CLG. Final 30 seconds. Doesn't even need to use the Earth Shatter to try and take this fight as the ticks come up. Unless they manage to stall it out. He's tried to pop it off, but they've actually landed on the point and they get pushed off. And it will be the cap. They get the extra time, so they've got a minute left, but it's a really tough ask for Immortals looking at the time.
Yeah, I mean, step 1 is capture the point and ensure that you don't actually just get knocked out of the tournament immediately. But step 2 is, oh, now we're at a 3-minute 41 disadvantage. This is actually quite bad for us. So they still have got their backs up against the wall. CLG did such a good job at setting themselves up in this series with those first 2 maps. And since then, the pressure has just been non-stop on Immortals.
Absolutely. It's honestly incredible. Immortals, the fact that they've just come back all this way, if they do end up winning this, you know, it's going to be a tough ask, 100%, because of the time difference they've got between CLG and them. But if they do end up winning this, easily one of the best games I think that this tournament could ever have hoped to produce, because a reverse sweep of this magnitude is insane.
It's the second game. You're already calling it the best.
It's the second game. Is one of the best. I'm calling it now because how do you top this? How do you top this kind of storyline developing if Immortals do end up taking this? There's so much on the back of these players now to try and take this, and they've got the first attack. They need to nail it in one. We saw it before. They actually did get an incredibly quick attack the first time around. So can they again?
Yeah,
they're really going to be all on their shoulders.
They need to have a performance like they had before, exactly. And Agilities went mental last time. He was finding picks all over the place.
Super
and crucially, they got Waffletastic immediately, and he's not doing anything cheeky this time. He's making sure that he's way back. He's got the support of the rest of his team here.
They're going to be running the Fire Mercy on the defense of CLG. Will Immortals be able to do it? He's going to be scouting it out for now. See if he can find the opening where they're defending. It's so passive by CLG. They're really giving up a lot of room here. Immortals trying to basically take the fight straight to them. The high ground is going to get contested here. They've got Miso to back them up as well. Agility is going to be doing a decent amount of work. They will find the first kill as Mikado is going to fall there. Nomi getting a crucial one there onto the Lucio. And now they're going to take the fight, I believe, onto the point here. Hype is doing a decent job, actually, of keeping the Farah Mercy combo off them into the back lines for Immortals to try and go in off. And this is looking like a better fight for them, but CLG are defending this actually very well as well, because they're not losing the players like I think Immortals are really hoping for right now. As I say that, they do finally lose they lose iShiny. The kills are finally going to start to flow in as the ticks coming up. They do finally have 2 as well, so very crucial times for them. And just in the nick of time, they've got 30 seconds here, Josh. This is looking really tough.
one step at a time, Brian. They've got 30 seconds and they don't really have any ultimates to chain together. Verbo's the closest to any kind of ultimate that's going to be decent to sync up with Agility's Dragon Blade, but they need to get massive value out of that. To be fair, they've actually demeched Miso immediately.
This is big.
That's a really aggressive play from Miso, but these got the Resurrect, so they can use it at any point as well.
They're moving in now. Hydration goes in with the barrage. Actually, it's going to go down to the boot from Verbo. Sound barrier now popped off as well. Immortals do not want to give this up. They've got to play their hearts out. They want any chance of this. Here comes the Resurrect from CLG, looking to defend it. Self-destruct gets sent straight up into the air. The Primal Rage from iShiny putting in work as well, as Agility is going to fall at the start of this engagement, just as he popped off his Dragon Blade, so he's not going to be getting anything from it. Moving even further forward in, CLG looking for the defense. It's taking it to the third round. Immortals, all their hopes and dreams lie on this last final push, but losing so many players so quickly, and that'll be it. They only managed to collect 3 points here. And
It's doable.
CLG have 4 minutes, 41 seconds to push all the way into the last.
I mean, that was always going to be an incredibly tough ask from Immortals, and basically they just had to get the first point, because it's not the situation anymore where on point B you have to put time on the point, otherwise you literally have to sit on the point like potatoes and try and defend it from 0.1%. But they needed to capture point A, because point A, you just cannot defend that for 4 minutes 41. That would be too much to ask.
So you're going to play
for
for
any
draw,
team.
is what you're saying.
So yeah, for Immortals here, I think there is a reasonable chance that they can play for the draw. But considering how easily they let CLG engage into them last time they were trying to defend point B, they need to be much more proactive with that. They need to be locking them out in these certain areas once it gets to point B, and they need to delay as much time as possible off point A.
Well, this is it. It all comes down to this potentially final round that we're seeing here. Temple of Anubis, the final map, map number 5 in this series between CLG and Immortals. CLG, remember, they were 2 rounds up. Third map, Lijiang Tower, 2 rounds up. And a complete reverse sweep coming out to play here by Immortals. They bring it all the way back on Lijiang Tower. They take the 4th map, and now we're on to the 5th and final. It is do or die time, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone involved in this game. And they have got a lot to work against. Got to either try and go for the full hold, which we've already agreed is kind of unfeasible, or just play for the draw. See what you can do. So they're going to lead it in. Hydration with the damage boosted rockets, trying to see if they can find an opening. Quite passive positioning, but that is not what you want to see. Grimreality immediately goes down to the rocket boosted, the damage boosted rocket, I should say, of Hydration. They're going to look for further frags in the end, trying to take this air-to-air battle with them head on. iShiny brings down Avon, and a great mid-air by Hydration. Excellent air shots, picking off these players time and time again. CLG looking incredibly strong as they're pushing into the final moments here. They are looking super strong. Are they going to try and contest this though, Sideshow? That's the question. I don't think you can.
They're throwing the last player of Grim in, who got that really early spawn because he got the really early death. But now, I mean, that's not even that much time ticked off the clock here.
No,
this is still going to be really deadly territory for Immortals. CLG have now got, what, over 4 minutes to be able to capture 1 point. Or not even capture 1 point, but 1 tick of 1 point. So even the stall strategies are going to be difficult to pull off here. Immortals backs truly against the wall.
Immortals giving CLG a taste of their own medicine. Damage boosted rocket just one-shotting Waffle-tastic there. I mean, that's a good opening as any. Try and take this future fight. And
They're holding
call has
much
been
more
made by
aggressively
CLG.
now, Brent.
Yeah,
They're holding much
absolutely.
more
Put that one
aggressive.
player down. Searching around these corners, making movement. Hydration has the rocket barrage. They're going to wait for Waffle-tastic to come back up. He is with them, and he has a pulse bomb. Now is the time to strike. They've got a bit of an ultimate advantage as well. Hydration finds Avon. That's huge for them. Are they going to be able to lead it in? Hydration with the damage boost. Pops off the rocket barrage. Isn't going to get too much out of it. Self-destruct also going to be leading it in for Immortals here. Agilities, nobody's really taking care of him. Just laying down these rockets. And Daisy does bring him down to res. Is going to bring them all up on the side of CLG. They're capping it up. There's only a few final players left on this point. All they need is 1 tick, remember, on the side of CLG to try and defend this. They're working their magic. They're trying their hardest. Avon goes down again before getting off the Resurrect. That is so big for them right now. CLG into the final moments here of this game, working their magic to the best of their abilities. Hydration ends up killing himself against the big fat diva mech suit of Miso. Miso pops off the self-destruct. Doesn't quite get the kill he's looking for. Trying to stall it off. Ape is still alive now, has the Resurrect and turn this fight around. Josh, this is looking so good for Immortals. They're actually slightly being able to do this.
Yeah, Aiken coming in, manages to get off the Resurrect. That's 2 players put back into the fight here, and they are going to turn it. Oh, it's still 2.5 minutes to hold here, but that's the first assault, and they managed to batter it back. Wave 1 complete.
Oh my goodness. If you, honestly, what an incredible ask. And what these gamers have been through for this game today, it's not only is it hours of basically highly intense maps. Immortals have had to have the mental fortitude to come back from a huge deficit of rounds, but now you're in these final moments, and I mean, I think I'm feeling sorry for CLG right now, because in these final moments, even though you are, you know, on paper in the driving seat, if you mess up here, you know, it's going to be ended up as a draw in the end, and I believe goes to the tiebreaker map, but Hydration leads it in with Verbo. Finds that first initial kill. Ice Shiny onto Aethan as well. This is huge for them. CLG, this is the biggest opportunity they've ever had here. Nomi's going to follow suit. Hydration pops off the barrage. Claims one. The self-destruct will bring Hydration down as he couldn't exit out of the barrage. The postman comes out with a great bubble by Ice Shiny. They can't bring this up now. They can't give it up. The tick's coming down. And they are going to be able to do it. CLG take map number 5. GG is called. What an incredible series. Immortals was